Welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 484 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. My name is Derek. I am here with Jake and Hunter. As always, Jake has joined us, considering the news that's unfolded in the last just over 23 hours now. So we are happy to have Jake back. We don't know how long Jake will stick with us, but we are very happy to have him back. But I think we have to just cut to the chase. I mean, everyone knows what's happened, right? And there's no beating around the bush. The Red Sox traded Rafael Devers. There's no beating around the bush.
Wait, they did?
Yeah, news to me.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, I was so excited. It's my birthday today. It was supposed to be a happy, minor league stuff. Let's have some fun. And I get an early birthday present.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Derek.
Happy birthday. I dropped
your party sucks.
Yeah. You dropped the news yourself about your birthday. So spoiler alert, it's Derek's birthday.
Yes.
Birthday.
But no, it was
so you got your learner's permit now? Is that
I've had my license, but no, it's
that's not how you're supposed to respond.
Didn't sound convincing, by the way.
Oh boy.
But no, it's hey, nice. Thanks, Red Sox, for the birthday present. I mean, nothing's gonna top the Bruins winning the Stanley Cup the night before my birthday, so Red Sox, you're now on the total opposite end of trading Rafael Devers the night before my birthday. So thanks a lot. I will say, though, so the Red Sox, we are going to discuss big part the return what the Red Sox got, also considering we're the minor league show, and 3 of the 4 pieces are going to be in the minor leagues, at least to start. It's our job to talk about it. So the Red Sox received Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, James Tibbs III, and Jose Bayo, which is kind of funny because, maybe the long-lost cousin of Brian Bayo, who knows? And that's the return for Rafael Devers and the Giants taking the entirety of his contract. I don't know where you want to start, so I'm just going to hand it over to Jake because there's been a lot of stuff. Start with it wherever you want. There's been a lot of people needing to be talked off the ledge. I know you posted about it on Twitter last night about a whole bunch of people asking you to talk them off the ledge. People have asked me. I've had people I haven't talked to in over a year ask me to talk them off the ledge, call me out of the blue.
Why are you guys getting these messages and I'm getting people spitting at me and telling me to go fuck myself as if I made the move? I have people in my mentions screaming at me, and you guys are getting these like, hey, man, I'm not feeling too happy about this. Can you be nice to me? I'm getting people telling me to kill myself.
That's not necessarily how it came across as.
Yeah, it was less that.
It came across as I want to tear Craig Breslow's head off.
Yeah.
Don't talk me away from at least doing that.
Yeah, you're the voice of reason. I get that a lot all the time. Well, first off, I just want to say it is good to be back. I was not really anticipating on this. I was anticipating on taking another week to recover from my surgery, which everything went really well, and I appreciate a lot of folks reached out and so I'm feeling really good, but I'm not like it's going to be a while before I'm feeling 100% back to myself again, but I feel good. I felt good enough to at least come on here for this first part of the show to talk about this trade. And I think that I have a lot of emotions and a lot of things. And I want to say, I feel like whatever people are feeling about this in a constructive way, at least, is appropriate. If you're mad at the Red Sox, I completely get it. If you're mad at Devers, I get that too. If you're mad at, everybody that's involved in this, that's fine. But I think that I want to come at it from this standpoint of, again, we are the minor league show here, and obviously this is a big trade, and the Red Sox got back 2 guys that are prospects, another guy who is no longer a prospect who's going to at least start his Red Sox career in Worcester, and then another guy who is an established big leaguer. And so our focus here is we talk about the guys in the system. And I know that when you trade somebody like Rafael Devers and you trade somebody with his caliber of play and the fact that he's a top 10 hitter in baseball, these types of trades, you never get, unless you're trading the guy before he hits free agency, you're never gonna get the exact value back. That's just what happens. It's just how it goes. I think that what's become very clear, and there's been some reporting about Jeff Ponce of Baseball America, saying that he had heard that there was another offer on the table where the Red Sox would have had to retain more salary. They didn't, and that John Henry push back on that. I really like and respect Jeff and Baseball America in general, but that's the kind of report that really bugs me sometimes, where it's kind of like a half of a story a little bit, where we have no idea what was actually in that hypothetical offer. Was it like the Giants made a different offer and that was what it was? And who else was coming back? Was it something that was it like a good deal for the Red Sox? Did Breslow just present it to Henry because at the time it was the only offer he had? I don't know. But I guess my point in saying that is like, there are a lot of different variables and a lot of different things on the table, and I think that the directive, I feel like, was that they had to get off of the salary, and that was the only way Henry was going to sign off on a deal. And we can get into the whole aspect of why did it even come to this in the first place, and that's obviously the biggest problem with all of this, is that this was also self-inflicted on the part of the Red Sox. But this was the situation they were in. They decided, and I guess that, we're recording this at 6:00 Eastern time on Monday. In a couple hours, there's going to be this bullshit press conference where it's going to just be a bunch of bullshit from Breslow and Kennedy, and I don't think we're going to actually learn anything interesting. The only thing that I think might be interesting is the degree to which they decided to throw Devers under the bus for all of this. But I think obviously they made a determination, decided that they had to trade him. And so if they have to trade him and the ownership doesn't want to take on any salary, then the return is going to be whatever it's going to be. And I have been really disappointed over the course of the last day in the discourse around the return for the trade, and that people have decided to prejudge and decided that the Red Sox got nothing back in the trade. And I think it's really disappointing. It's really irritating. The Red Sox did get back guys who can help the team immediately this year. They got back an outfield prospect that I was definitely very high on last year. I am sure, I don't know specifically, but when we did our pre-draft stuff last year, I'm sure we talked about James Tibbs. He was, and there's this like weird thing that's been going around about, the Red Sox passed on him at 13, and so he must not be that great. The reason why the Red Sox passed on him at 13 is because the guy that was available at 13, Braden Montgomery, was supposed to go in the top 5, and he fell down because he broke his ankle. So it's no slight on James Tibbs that the Red Sox didn't take him. I think
they passed on him at 12. Tibbs won 13, but yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So exactly. So they passed on him at 12, and yeah. So basically,
he went literally the next pick,
the next spot. And if somebody again, this is 2 years in a row where the Red Sox had a guy that was supposed to go in the top 5 fall into their lap in the 10 to 15 range. Maybe that'll happen again this year. But I think that there is value that came back in this trade, and I want to make sure that we focus on those guys. We talk about the fact that, let's start with Kyle Harrison. I feel like I've heard a lot about Kyle Harrison through the last few years, and that this is like the type of guy, like the Red Sox have not been able to develop a guy like this, really. This guy that's like a top, by the time he graduates, he's like a top 25 pitching prospect in the game, who everybody kind of agrees is a starting pitcher. And not every starting pitcher that you develop and is going to be like an ace, obviously, but like neutral observers say that if this guy can put it together, if he's already got the really good, high velocity, good movement, whatever, like fastball, like the 4-seamer, like it's hard to find a lot of starting caliber lefties that can throw 95, 96 miles an hour. Like that's a great place to start from. And what he's needed work on is the secondaries. And I think that he's in the right place to help develop those secondaries. And I don't know what he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to end up being a 2, like somebody that slots in behind Crochet in a rotation. Maybe he's more like a 4 or something like that. Either way, you've got him under control for a while. And he's the type of guy that you have not been able to develop as a franchise, the Red Sox. And he's somebody that, again, maybe the blooms come off the rose a little bit with him, because like he was kind of not great last year. He did some work out of the bullpen at the beginning of this year, but basically between AAA and the majors, I think his last 8 appearances have all been starts, and he's going to slot into the rotation in Worcester, and they're going to work with him a little bit. And I think hopefully, fingers crossed, he's in the majors sooner rather than later to help out. So that's him. Josh Tibbs is James Tibbs. Sorry, I'm like mixing up. Like I'm thinking like Josh Cribbs. I think the quarterback probably. No, James Tibbs the third, I should say. He was a stud at Florida State. Like there were basically two guys that came out of Florida State last year that looked like they were going to be like top 15 picks. It was Cam Smith and it was James Tibbs. And I think the only reason why I was like a little bit like so on taking him is because he looked like he's probably going to be like a first base corner, like at best corner outfield type. Whereas somebody like Braden Montgomery, I mean, I think Braden Montgomery's a right fielder, but like he had a possibility of being a center fielder. There's a lot to like with him. Like I think like the back of the baseball card stats are not amazing, but Ian Cundall pulled a bunch of his sort of below the hood stats of things like that. And I'm just going to cite from Ian directly here, talking about hits the ball hard, almost a 47% hard hit rate. His 90th percentile exit velocity is 106, which is really good. Hits velocity, 859 OPS on fastballs above 94 miles an hour. He does strike out a bit, but good swing decisions, 18% chase rate, 82% zone contact rate. Those are things that are like right up the Red Sox alley. So, and I don't know, like, is his future going to be that he's a trade? Like he could be part of whatever the next big trade is. Very possibly. It's not like the Red Sox need a lot of help in the outfield, but a guy that if the Red Sox had drafted him, I don't know if I would have been thrilled if they had drafted him first round last year while Braden Montgomery was still on the board. But I do think that, the only thing I did go back and look and see that there was some Baseball America stuff that the Red Sox weren't interested in him at that pick ahead of the draft. So not a surprise. And then Jose Bayo is, I think he's kind of in the Yoiker Fajardo like area, like intriguing arm, probably will start in FCL, could probably see Salem before the end of the year, lottery ticket arm. And then, if you guys want to talk about Jordan Hicks a little bit more, that's fine. But again, it's not, he's not a minor leaguer, obviously. But so like there are pieces here. Like, is it the equal of Rafael Devers? No. Does it make it easier? Has anything I've said so far about these guys made people that hate the trade like the trade more because of this? No. But I'm just saying, like, I especially think we need to look at it from the standpoint of these guys. There is quality here. These are guys that I think could all help the big league team. It's not nothing. Like, please give it a rest. Like it's disrespectful to these guys. And then there's been stuff about social media, people going into Kyle Harrison's Instagram and like saying stupid shit and stuff like just like, it's not these guys' fault. Like if these guys come to the big leagues and they stink, I really just hope people will get on them the normal amount that they would get on people that come to the Red Sox and maybe aren't good, as opposed to it being heightened because of the fact that they were the ones that were traded here for Rafael Devers. And I know I'm talking to a brick wall. It doesn't matter. People are still going to do it anyway, but just like give these guys a little bit of grace. Like they didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to be part of this trade. They didn't ask to be traded for a franchise icon. Like they're just here to play ball. They are good, talented prospects, and it's not nothing. Please stop saying that. It's the guys that they got back. There is quality here. So anyway, that's my rant.
For me, it's so much the optics of everything. Like, this was not a trade that needed to happen today. This is something they could have waited. It very much feels like they did it today or yesterday because they were going on a long road trip and they knew they wouldn't have to deal with some of the backlash right away. And like the fact that it's taking them over 24 hours to even talk about it. And then they're doing it over a Zoom call where we know that they're just going to spew a bunch of garbage and they're going to, and I'm not going to say make up things about Rafael Devers, but they're going to embellish things about Rafael Devers. They're going to make it seem like it was a much worse situation than it was. And this is not like Rafael Devers is not 100% free of any guilt in this situation. Like, he did not handle everything as well as he could have, but this all started with the Red Sox front office lying to his face in the offseason when they told him he was the third baseman. And then they brought in Alex Bregman and they said, hey, Alex Bregman, someone quote tweeted it today where it was like Craig Breslow and Alex Cora said, Alex Bregman is going to be a fantastic second baseman. We're so excited to have him here. And then he took a grand total of 0 ground balls at second base in spring training. And they were just like, oh yeah, by the way, Devers, you're not playing the field anymore. And then to go even further, they were asked like, hey, will Devers play on a day off? Or like if Bregman needs a break or this, that, or the other thing. And they said, no, Rafael Devers is done in the field. And then Tristan Casas gets hurt and it turns into, hey buddy, you want to go learn a position you've never played before, even though we said you're really bad in the field. And then if you don't, we're going to make it look like you're this terrible teammate. And like, again, I get it. He didn't handle everything perfectly. And we've seen that. We've seen a lot of ex-players talking about that, saying, oh, I'd be pissed off if I was his teammate. And I get that. I really do. But like from the outside, Rafael Devers, the DH, is helping you so much more than Rafael Devers, the first baseman, would have. I don't understand this. Like the amount of people that I've seen tweet a million times over the last 5 years, like Rafael Devers is a DH. What the hell is he doing in the field? And then all of a sudden it was, why isn't Rafael Devers playing first base? He'd be so good there. What are we doing? And it's like, you claimed very differently last year. So like, and the other part that bothers me with that is everybody keeps saying how much it would have helped the team if he played first base. Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro are giving you so much better production than anyone else could have given you. And that is not a knock on anyone else. Masataka Yoshida is a very good hitter. Roman Anthony has potential to be a superstar, all these things. Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro are both playing solid defense at first base, and they're both hitting over 300. Like, they're both playing out of their minds. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the year, neither of them are producing like they are. But right now, they are. Since Alex Bregman went down, who has been your best hitter? Rafael Devers. Who has been your second best hitter? Abraham Toro. Who has been your third best hitter? Romy Gonzalez. Like, the two guys who everybody keeps saying, like, oh man, it would be great if Devers took over for them so they didn't have to play anymore. Those have been your number 2 and number 3 best hitters. So that's a big thing that's been bothering me, is people acting like the team was so hurt by him not playing first base. And then doing the trade now instead of building up, like there were, like you said, there was the report of like other teams were interested in it. It sucks that like we're probably never going to actually hear anything more than that. Like we might hear like someone will be like, oh, I heard it was the Blue Jays. Oh, I heard it was, but like we're probably never going to hear like, oh, the Padres offered this, that, and the other thing. We're never going to hear that. For all we know, all they did was say like, hey, we'd like to talk, and we'd consider throwing in this guy. And it not to like bring up old things, but it reminds me of like when Mookie Betts was traded and they threw in David Price, and it was like that. It was so clearly like turning into a salary dump that it hurt your return. And that's the same situation here, where it was like, instead of accepting that you're going to pay off some of Devers' money, you're like, we'll take the worst. We'll take a lesser package if we get to clear up space. And with that one, with the Mookie Betts trade, again, I know I very much come off as a big Chaim Bloom defender. And in that case, it was like kind of well-known common knowledge, like public knowledge, that Chaim Bloom came into the organization with John Henry saying like, hey, your first job is get rid of Mookie Betts before the start of the season. Like, he had a ticking clock and had to get it done. Was it the best return in the world? No. Did it work out well at all? Absolutely not. It, like in retrospect, looks even worse than it did at the time. But there is that argument of like, oh, well, ownership was like, this has to be done. And don't get me wrong, I still think ownership wanted this done. Like, again, I think they probably hamstrung Breslow a little bit with like, hey, we don't want to take on any of the money. But this really does feel like Breslow got his feelings hurt. And I put it in the group chat. He wanted to be the big swinging dick, in that he wanted to be like, look at me. Someone doesn't want to do what I say. They're off this team. It doesn't matter how good they are. And it sucks because, like you said, this isn't like the worst return in the world. It's not. It's an underwhelming return. Don't get me wrong. And I was upset when I first read it. I'm still not super thrilled about the return. I would have loved it if they could have gotten if we're just strictly talking the Giants, if they could have gotten, Bryce Eldridge or something. But it's not the worst. Hayden Birdsong. It's not the worst return in the world. They did get, like you said, Kyle Harrison was a top. He was. I know it became like a joke at one point last night, but it is true. At one point last year, he was a higher rated prospect than Roman Anthony. Like there was a point last year where he was considered a better prospect than Roman Anthony. He's 23 years old. He hasn't been god awful in the majors. He's been underwhelming. He hasn't been terrible. It's one of those things where, as much as we talk about Andrew Bailey hasn't done a great job, there's been signs. They looked great this week. We've seen some pitchers work in the system. A lot of the minor league guys have been fantastic. Work on things. Maybe they can add a little velo. Maybe they can give him a cutter or make his slider better, whatever it is. And maybe he does become a very good prospect. Jordan Hicks, I know Derek said earlier that he's a big Jordan Hicks fan. I get that looking bad. The dude has like a 6.7 ERA or something this year. That doesn't help his case. He wasn't great last year either. This is someone that the Red Sox wanted 2 years ago, though. And then James Tibbs, I feel bad for because I do think he's a solid prospect, but there's a few things going against him. One, obviously, the Red Sox could have drafted him last year, which I agree. It had nothing to do with him and more to do with the fact that Braden Montgomery should not have been there. And this isn't an insult to James Tibbs because you could say this about a lot of people in that draft. You could not have done Kyle Teal and a lot of people taken before Braden Montgomery for Garrett Crochet. Like those couldn't have been the two headliners. Braden Montgomery's that special, and we've seen it this year. He has looked phenomenal in the White Sox system. He just hit a walk-off home run this week, in fact. But he's in such a bad spot because he's not like he's a 22-year-old who put up decent counting stats in high A. Like they weren't spectacular. I literally, one of my editors messaged me this morning and asked me, well, actually, technically they messaged me last night. My phone completely died. I couldn't text. I couldn't receive text. I couldn't call. I couldn't receive calls. I couldn't turn off my phone. I don't know how Jeff Passan does it. Like I tweeted out one thing that got an absurd amount of traction and it just blew up my phone. It just didn't work anymore. So they messaged me they messaged me last night and I put it, I wrote it this morning. It hasn't gone up yet. And they just said like, can you do something, throwing the two prospects added into your top 30. They said like, you don't have to redo your whole top 30. I ended up doing like a list of my top 30, but, and just say like where they slot in. And this is where like the optics don't look as good personally for me. And I know I'm pretty sure Sox prospects already said they have Josh Baio somewhere between 40 and 60. So he's not in their top 30 either. He's not in my top 30. And I said, technically he doesn't even qualify because he hasn't gotten to single A yet. But even if he did qualify, he wouldn't crack the list. There's other guys in the DSL and the FCL on the Red Sox in the Red Sox organization that I would count. When I wrote the list, I forgot to put Luis Perales in there, which ended up knocking off Tyler Uberstein. Like that's another guy I would have above him. But that doesn't mean like he's a lottery ticket, like you said earlier. Like this is someone who maybe we almost never talk about. He'll get talked about because people will be like, man, like if he sucks, people will talk about like, oh man, that was a guy that we traded for Devers. That's embarrassing. But then we could also be talking about him at the end of the year, like, oh, holy hell, like this is a dude, and he's putting up phenomenal numbers in the ACL. And then Tibbs, a couple of things working against him. Obviously, I already talked about the Braden Montgomery stuff. He's a left-handed hitting outfielder, which is the last thing the Red Sox need. I have him ranked 8th in my top 30. I don't count major league prospects. Or people that have played in the majors. So I have Franklin Arias, Luis Perales, Payton Tolle, Brandon Clark. I don't think anyone would argue any of them. They're all in the top 100. Like they're pretty much consensus at this point. Luis Perales technically isn't, but he was before he got hurt. I have Juan Valera, Johanfran Garcia, who's another guy who just cracked the top 100. And then I have Mikey Romero over him. And you can even make arguments for a couple other guys. And that's not a knock on Tibbs. That's just the Red Sox system is so loaded, which again makes it look like a worse trade. Because you're getting this guy and then he's not automatically like your best prospect. So it's like teams like, cool, we got a guy who most people won't even consider a top 5 in the system. That's terrible. But a big part that hurts him, obviously, I just said like, oh, left-handed hitting outfielder. The Red Sox already have 100 outfielders in the majors. Like when Wilyer Abreu comes back, they're going to have to figure something out. Obviously, maybe that's when they just start rotating at DH. Masataka Yoshida at some point will be coming back. He does seem to be magically a little bit healthier than they said he was. I still think he's not as healthy as some people think, but it does seem like he's a little bit more along than they wanted to act. And then you have Yastinson Garcia, who is someone who I think most people would agree is ahead of him as a prospect. And it's like, so you're bringing in this guy and he's not even your top outfield prospect. And then you have someone like Miguel Blaze, who has a lower ceiling than James Tibbs III, does not have, or has a higher, has a lower floor, but he has a higher ceiling. Like he's someone who, if everything works out perfectly, he's this superstar outfielder. Whereas James Tibbs will always have like, oh, he's not a great defender. He's not fast. You know, the strikeouts the strikeouts aren't terrible, but they might be a slight issue. And he walks a good amount and he has a lot of power, but like, that's really those are like the two big things with him. And like, again, he's putting up decent stats in high A, but he's 22. He's out of college. I like the fact that they're throwing him into double A. I'm interested to see if they put him at first, because like you said, he played first in college. He didn't play first in the minor leagues this year at all. And then another thing working against him is just, obviously I've talked about like the outfielders already ahead of him, and you could even throw in like, Ferry Rodriguez as someone who has a higher ceiling than him. But then you even go like another outfielder that was drafted last year out of college by the Red Sox, Zach Ehrlicher, is 3 months younger than him and put up better high A stats. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm crapping on him. And I'm trying to point out things that I think are making people upset. Like there's so many things that you can point to where it's like, this guy is not the best outfield prospect in our team. We just drafted a guy last year who was putting up better season numbers than him. We have other guys with higher ceilings. Like, there's so many different things to point to, but we've already talked so much about the amount of trade pieces they have in this system. Like, as much as it sucks to say, there's a very strong chance Yastinson Garcia is traded for something at the All-Star or at the trade deadline. I'm very intrigued to see what route they go now, because obviously it will depend on how they play, but it will be a really bad look if they end up, I don't know. Will it be a bad look if they end up selling off more pieces, or will that kind of be like, this is a reset for the franchise?
Because, it completely depends on how they play over the course of the next 6 weeks. Like,
But like, because I could see them trading Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu, or both, even if they get the right price. Because then it's like, oh, we have all these other options. Maybe they think Yastinson Garcia is a part of the future, and then you have Roman Anthony and Cedar Rafaela. But then I could also see them keeping all of them and trading off Yastinson Garcia and trading off Mikey Romero and maybe trading off James Tibbs. There's so many different routes they can go, and who knows, maybe they flip James Tibbs and get a really good pitcher or a reliever or a first baseman. Maybe they flip Yastinson Garcia and then James Tibbs becomes like their most intriguing outfield prospect, and maybe he just goes to Double A and mashes baseballs for a month, and all of a sudden we're talking about him hitting 300 with 10 homers in by July 10th, and it's like, oh, holy God, this guy's a freak. And it's like, it sucks to have to play these like what if scenarios, but it also goes the other way around. I said it last night. I'm not looking forward to tweeting out that first Kyle Harrison AAA stat line. It is going to be a war zone in my mentions of people just angry. And it doesn't matter. He could go 7 innings, no runs, 12 strikeouts. And there's going to be people like, what the hell's he doing in the minor leagues? Like, we're wasting starts of his. And then if he sucks, it's going to be even worse. But like you said, this is not a nothing return, but in fans' defense, I don't think they really want to hear that right now. Like, I think a lot of people are acting irrationally. And if you give them 2 weeks, I think things might calm down a little. Now, they might get worse if Rafael Devers is hitting 500 with the Giants and going nuts, and he hits 5 homers against the Red Sox. It's ridiculous that they traded him 4 days before they play the Giants. But I think given time, people will be more open to hearing about the prospects about the return being a potential positive. Obviously, 90%, 75% of them are going to start in the minors and work on things and are more like future additions, whereas Jordan Hicks is more of like he's here now to help. And he's only 28. He could be here for a while. Who knows? He's still got some years on his contract. But I feel like that's a big thing, is just people want to be irrational right now, which is fair. Rafael Devers is the last guy from the 2018 World Series team. He's a homegrown talent. They signed him when he was like 15 years old, and he went up through every level, and he hit a home run off Aroldis Chapman his rookie year when Aroldis Chapman was the best closer in baseball for the Yankees. And he had crazy moments in the playoffs, and he's been here for big winning seasons. And when they suck, he's the one guy still mashing baseballs. And every year he was playing through injuries by the end of it. Every year, that another reason why I enjoyed him at DH is he wasn't getting banged up. And it was something where it was like, hey, come August, September, Rafael Devers is still going to be 100% mashing baseballs, instead of like, oh, he's trying to play through a shoulder injury and a rib injury and a leg injury. And that's something I know people talk about how selfish and immature he's been. That's something he has always done, is he went out there and played. Unless he was 100% physically incapable of playing, Rafael Devers was going on that field. He wanted to win. He wanted to win for the Red Sox. And you're trading that last piece of 2018. You're trading the one guy who has been the constant good player for you for the last few years. You're trading the one, like the best hitter on this team, the best power hitter on this team since David Ortiz, because obviously, Mookie Betts was around, and you could maybe argue Xander Bogaerts at times. But like, this is a guy, he had 8 years left on his contract. Like that's another thing, is like they just signed him to this long-term extension, and they're selling off a year and a half later. If he finished that contract with the Red Sox, if he spent the entire time with the Red Sox, he would still be mashing baseballs. Like even if he did move to first or went to third or stayed at third or whatever, 6 years into this contract, in 2030, he would have been the DH at that point. 34-year-old Rafael Devers, 33-year-old Rafael Devers, they're putting him at DH and having him play out the rest of his career there, unless he ends up turning into Nolan Arenado defensively, which was not going to happen. This is a guy who would have finished his career, like he just had his 500th extra base hit. He would have finished his career with 400 plus home runs and 500 doubles and well over 1,000 RBIs, and would have had like MVP type hitting seasons, and probably would have led them to a couple super deep playoff runs, especially with the young core coming up, where he would have been like the big bat in between all of them. And it's not wild to think he would have had like his jersey number retired and all these other things. And it's like, just on a random Sunday, on a random Father's Day, after sweeping the New York Yankees, and you're on a 5-game winning streak, and you've beaten the Yankees 5 games in a row, and you're all of a sudden back over 500, and the vibes have not been higher. Roman Anthony's here, Marcelo Meyer's here, and he had 2 home runs the other day, and Christian Campbell's been struggling, but he's here, and Cedar Rafael is playing better, and holy shit, the pitching staff looked better than it has all year. They have like 6 straight games of 6+ innings. That blows my mind. Like, Garrett Crochet dominated the Yankees, and then Hunter Dobbins put his nuts on the table, and then Brian Bayo had his best start maybe ever, and like he went out there for the 7th, and everybody was like, oh, he's gonna get one batter, or oh, why are they bringing him out? And he ends up getting him out 1, 2, 3 and striking out the last batter and screaming when he leaves the field, and the vibes are incredible, and Fenway's going crazy, and it's like, no, the playoffs feel very much real again. And then it's just that news drops. So I don't think the return is as bad as some people are acting, but I get the want to be angry. I 100% agree with what Jake said, though. Get the hell out of Kyle Harrison's Instagram. That is so weird. Like, it is not his fault that he got traded for Rafael Devers. And the fact that like I tweeted that out, like it's loser behavior to do that. The amount of people that openly admitted, I want them all to suck because I want Craig Breslow in the front office to feel bad and to lose their jobs. And I can't stand Craig Breslow. The amount of things he's done over the last few weeks, I've gone on multiple rants about stuff he's done that I don't like. I don't think he makes all the wrong moves. I just don't think he's great at being a human. I don't think he's good at the emotional side of things. I don't think he's good at talking to players. I don't think he's good at all about talking to the media. And I think that is going to be a problem. Like, I think he's going to end up having issues with other players at other times. But I'd rather him succeed. I don't like the trade, but you know what would be cool is if Kyle Harrison came here and shoved and became the legitimate number 2, where it's like, man, if Garrett Crochet was here, you could talk about him being a number 1 and you wouldn't be scared. I'd love it if James Tibbs became a 40 home run guy. I'd love it if Josh Baio hit and ended up being good. I'd love it if Jordan Hicks looked like rookie Jordan Hicks, where he was striking everyone out and throwing 120 mile an hour sinkers, where genuinely people just thought he was cheating. Like, it would be cool if they just didn't lose another game. And it would be like, yeah, that sucks that Devers isn't here for this and that the media is going to act like Devers was the issue, even though they were clearly turning it around with him. And don't get me wrong, I think some media members taking victory laps, acting like John Henry and company did this for them is ridiculous. But I want them to be good. Like, I'd so much rather be wrong and be happy than be right and be pissed off and be like, damn, this team sucks and we're never going to win again. I'd rather Kyle Harrison become my new favorite pitcher to watch every 5 days. And the Red Sox become perennial World Series contenders with the best pitching rotation in baseball. And with I'd rather the team win. I don't get that. The fact that people were openly admitting, I want them to suck so that Craig Breslow gets fired. I get not liking the way he does things. He's currently running the team. I want the team to be good. I don't want to sit through 2 more years of terribleness just so Breslow or Cora get fired or for John Henry to sell the team. I'd just rather them win. I don't care how they do it. I want them to win. So just get out of people's mentions, get out of people's Instagram, and cheer for the team. You don't have to like it. You don't have to pay them money. You don't have to watch the games if you don't want to. I completely understand if you're like, yeah, I need to take a break. This is terrible. Like, they traded Mookie Betts. They didn't re-sign Xander Bogaerts. They traded Chris Sale, and that ended up not working out for them, even though most people wanted it at the time. They traded Rafael Devers. I get it. I get being annoyed. I get wanting to take a break, whatever. I'm not saying you have to give John Henry your money. I'm not saying you have to go to games. I don't understand wanting this team to lose. I'll never understand that. Maybe it's a sickness on my part. I was just talking about this with my friend Sean. Shout out to Sean. He's a Rams fan. I'm a Washington Commanders fan. We talked about how, like, our entire lives growing up, they were like the 2 worst teams in football. We watched them every Sunday. There's nothing they could do to make us stop watching them as much as we wanted to, as much as we would have loved to not care and just become fans of the Patriots or the Giants who were winning Super Bowls or whoever. We were stuck with that team. To me, it's the same thing. I wish I could turn it off, but there's almost nothing the Red Sox could do for me to just stop rooting for them. And again, this isn't me advocating for you to still give them money and to celebrate the moves and to go out and buy the clearance Rafael Devers jerseys, who they're going to give someone else number 11 and be happy about it.
Jordan Hicks, maybe?
Yeah, maybe Jordan Hicks. That would go over so poorly.
I was thinking either 12, 11, 13, because no one's wearing 13, or 21, but they haven't given it out since Clemens, so I don't think so.
But just rooting against the players is the thing that's weird to me. Unless they've done something to personally offend you, I don't know why you're rooting against the player. And again, it's all about optics. Like, when I tweeted out Kyle Harrison's being optioned to AAA, the responses were so funny because I tweeted like, this isn't going to go over well, because I knew fans would be mad. And it wasn't me saying like, this is the wrong move. It makes sense. They have too many starting pitchers in the rotation right now. There wasn't like a spot to slide him in without bumping someone else. You want him to work on things. You'd rather him go and learn a new pitch or whatever it is and come up and be good right away instead of sucking, and then fans are even madder. It was more me saying, like, fans are going to be upset about this. And I had people saying, like, oh, this is going to, like, what I just said, like, oh, they're doing this because of this. And I agree with that. And then I had other people saying, like, this is the stupidest thing ever. The big piece in the trade isn't even starting in the majors, even though he was there before. And again, it's all about optics. I get it that it was technically the right move, but it just looks really bad to be like, hey, this 23-year-old who's the best piece we got in the trade. I know some people are saying, like, oh, the best thing they got was losing all the money, which I understand that viewpoint. But the best physical piece they got was Kyle Harrison, and then they're optioning him to AAA. I like the optics of that aren't great, but we'll see him by the end of the year. And I know people don't want to hear it, but like, it's the same thing. And obviously not nearly the giving up what they gave up for him, but like, it's the same thing with Quinn Priester. They traded for him. They put him in the minors. They had him work on things. I know people don't want to hear this either. He's been lights out for the Brewers lately. He's been phenomenal for the Brewers. Like, clearly those things have been.
He's been basically Quinn Priester, and people have brought this up, like, and maybe this isn't like going to help my argument, but his numbers have been, he's like strikingly similar to Brian Bayo. Like, and obviously Bayo's coming off his best start of the year, maybe his best start since he's been with the Red Sox. But like, Priester is a ton of ground balls. It's like almost all ground balls. You know, a lot of, and so to me, it's like Bayo had a really great start the other day, or it was yesterday. You know, he had 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, 3 hits. So I think that, like, so this is an example of the Red Sox like adjusting things a little bit, because I think that Bayo yesterday, he was throwing a lot of cutters, like more than we've seen him really throw. And so I think that's an example of, you know, and we've seen, you know, the last couple turns through the rotation, guys have been really good. You know, Dobbins has obviously been really good. You know, Crochet is a pig. We know this. Like, and so we've seen this where, so I think that gives me a lot of like promise with Kyle Harrison, because I do feel like it's taking a little while, but I think some of these guys, like, they're willing to try stuff that we know that, like, Buehler talked about, like, yeah, I said fuck it and started you know, doing different things. So I think that but to your point about Priester, like, yes, like, would he be helping the Red Sox right now? Yes, but like, considering the state of the Red Sox, you know, infield defense for a good chunk of this year, I wonder, because, like, you know, you look at the Brewers, like the Red Sox went and played the Brewers, and that's like a really solid, like, sound fundamental team. I know that they haven't necessarily had like the greatest season this year, but like, they have, you know, Joey Ortiz, like, he can't really hit, but he's a really good shortstop, right? And like, they have other guys too that are good. So, and you know, and it is sort of telling that tonight, like in the Red Sox first lineup in the post-Devers era, the DH is Christian Campbell. So I think, and I don't know that that's going to be permanent necessarily. There's going to have to be more moves that happen, like, you know, the quote unquote logjam that exists in the outfield has, if they're going to DH Campbell more often than not, like, that hasn't really been cleared up. So I guess, like, what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm, you know, like Kyle Harrison, I think right now, like, there's not really a spot in the rotation for him, because the 5 guys that are in the rotation right now have all been doing really well, like the last couple of turns through. You never know what's going to happen. Guys could get hurt. They could decide, like, hey, you know, we don't really view, you know, Lucas Giolito as like being part of the future of the team, so maybe we blow him out and we get, you know, some stuff back for him so we can move Kyle Harrison into the rotation. I do feel like that's maybe that would be like a sell move potentially at the deadline. But I think that, like, a lot of the stuff you said, Hunter, like, I agree with it. I wanted to, you know, bring back the conversation about Devers himself and like the success that he was. And like, we can't lose sight of that. Like, it's weird, so weird how everything happened. And there's been more details and things that have come out. There's been this June Lee article that got posted on Yahoo with some really weird stuff in it. But like, I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that, like, we do this show, we talk about the minor leaguers, we talk about the guys that you should pay attention to, that you should care about coming up through the minor league system. And the dream scenario with anybody that comes up through the Red Sox system, through anyone's system, is they succeed at the big league level, they win a championship, and they sign long term. And that all of that stuff happened with Devers. Like Devers is Devers is the dream scenario for anybody. And it's funny to me how much of an outlier it is when that happens, that we don't see that happen, anywhere close to often. It's not a typical thing that happens. It's like you think about all of the guys in the Red Sox system right now, and all of the guys in the Red Sox system in 2015, 2016 when Devers was coming up. And there was one guy 10 years later, just about, that was still in the organization, that signed a long-term contract, that had won a championship here, and was still consistently a great top 10, 15 player in baseball. We certainly hope that, and obviously, we've already seen Christian Campbell has signed a long-term deal. I fully expect that the Red Sox are going to try to do that with Meyer and Anthony now. But like, this is the dream, is that those guys develop, they come up through the system, they succeed at the big league level, they win a World Series, they sign for a long time, and ideally, hopefully in those cases, they're here for a long time. So I don't want to lose sight of the fact that like Rafael Devers is the ultimate Red Sox farm system success story. Like I wouldn't say like, there's other guys, and obviously the names have come up a lot the last couple of days, of Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts, and I'd say John Lester is another one. Like, you're thinking about this century, like who are, like, he's in the top 5 with those guys, like Lester, Bogaerts, Betts.
Just
Devers.
to like highlight Devers, in 2014 he was a 16-year-old playing in the DSL for the Red Sox. He slashed 337, 445, 538. Obviously, it's the DSL, but like that was the immediate signs of like there was that immediate hype of like, this guy's special. Yeah. And it's like through every step he played DSL, the GSL, which is now the FCL, Greenville, which was single A at the time, Salem, Portland, Lowell. He played Lowell for one game on a rehab assignment, so he actually skipped Lowell. And went right to single A. But he played at every level. He dominated at every level. He came up to the Red Sox, was immediately fantastic. 20-year-old rookie hitting piss missiles off Aroldis Chapman, lefty. Like, was it to win the game or to tie the game? I think it was to tie, because I feel like it was at Yankee Stadium. Yeah,
it was at Yankee Stadium. It was a Sunday night game. I think I think they tied the game.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was a low scoring game. It was like 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that. And
but yeah,
that was,
I think it was
like
2-1.
Yeah,
like immediate success, Silver Sluggers, All Stars, All MLB teams, and also just a quick note, because I mentioned not to be a dick to the players. Don't take it out on the social media admins either.
No,
I promise you, the person running Red Sox Instagram is not John Henry or Craig Breslow. They don't need 800 messages telling them to go jump off a bridge. Like, this is just, I felt so bad for them when they had to tweet out "Welcome to the team" to Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks. Those comments were so brutal. The one mistake they made was when they announced the trade, they called Rafael Devers a third baseman. That was the one mistake they made, because it was like, you knew all the comments were going to be like,
that was their parting gift
baseman
for him. That was their parting gift.
Which now apparently he's going to play third and first for the Giants, which I don't blame him. Again, I don't think he handled everything super well, but the Red Sox handled it even worse. It's very much I think if they were upfront with him immediately, he would be the Red Sox first baseman right now if they needed him to be, and we wouldn't be dealing with any of this. So I think it would be very funny. I'm rooting for the Red Sox to win every game, obviously. It would be very funny if Rafael Devers was playing first for the Giants and hit a home run against the Red Sox in a couple
funny's
days.
One way to put it. Like, I would say, I just wanted to mention one other thing quickly, and that is that, Devers, like, from day one was this, like, stud. Like, everybody kind of knew it. He signed for $1.5 million. He was, and I just remember seeing the pictures of him like when he was that young, and it's so funny. I think you can still go on like his Instagram and see the pictures of him like looking like he's 10 years old, like signing like he's he's Carita, right? He's the baby face. But I wanted to mention that like he got the second biggest bonus that year. And I don't know if you guys, this is like my sort of guess the prospect thing, because I'm not going to be sticking around for the end today. But who got the biggest bonus that year? He's somebody that ended up pitching in the big leagues.
So it was 2014.
It was It was the 2013 to 2014 signing period.
And it's international, right? You're not saying
it's an international signee.
Did he pitch for the Red Sox?
Yeah, very briefly. All right, I don't want to drag it out. It's Dolly or Hinojosa.
I never would have gotten that. I never would have gotten that.
He pitched more for the Phillies than for the Red Sox, I think. Yeah, he only pitched one game in the big leagues for the Red Sox in 2015, and then I don't know if it was a trade or what it was, but he ended up pitching 18 games for the Phillies in 2015, and then 10 games for them in 2016. But yeah, that's a name for you right there. So he was the guy that got a bigger bonus than Rafael Devers that year. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll add this. I do think in some ways too, like I know we have kind of covered everyone, but I do want to kind of add in some things. I think the big thing with James Tibbs is you look at the start of a season, his first 23 games, 226, 365, 345 slash line, a 711 OPS. And that takes you just after the start of May. Since then, he's played in 34 games, 260, 388, 569 for a 957 OPS, right? And his BABIP's only 262 in that stretch too, so it's not like he's being lucky per se. He doesn't have like a 400 BABIP either, so I think it does somewhat make sense too that the Red Sox promoted him to Portland, to AA. With them bringing him in, he has been playing a lot better as of late. And obviously, it seemed like the Red Sox were at least somewhat interested in him last year. And I think you very well could make the argument if Braden Montgomery's not on the board at 12 last year, the Red Sox do take him at 12. So on Jose Bayo, there's not a ton. He's got 2 ERA in the Complex League. It's the Complex League, 191 fifth. The write-up on Fangraphs on him is basically that last year he struck out 38 and walked 5 in just under basically 28 innings. He has 3 potentially average or better pitches, and he has a quick arm and throws strikes, which I feel like fits the Red Sox in some ways. He does have release inconsistency, but they said it's more kind of variables in the movement of his pitches than a lack of command or lack of control. So it's someone who could be interesting, right? They did say he's a tad undersized, but he's a good athlete and fine developmental prospect. It feels like he's more of seems like from what I've read on him, seems like more like a high floor guy than like a super high ceiling. But he's a lottery ticket. But in some ways, I mean, he's striking out a lot of people. He's not walking a lot of guys. Feels Red Soxy in some ways, right? It has a little bit of that feel. Jordan Hicks, obviously, I think would make sense to put him back in the bullpen. I mean, his 2023 had a 3.29 ERA and 65 appearances out of the bullpen. And obviously, I don't know when he's going to be back. It's, I think, a toe inflammation, I think it is. And that doesn't sound like a long injury. I think he's actually eligible to come off the injured list as soon as like today. So I'm hoping he's back. I'm hoping he's back soon. But obviously, that's big league team stuff. But I mean, anyone who was followed Jordan Hicks remembers him pumping, going up to 105 with the Cardinals, just disgusting, right? And then Kyle Harrison's obviously, I think he's the big piece. And I mentioned this before we started recording, but Kyle Harrison, if the Red Sox would have traded for him before the start of last year, his value would probably be at least like 5 times what it is now. And so in some ways, like, yes, obviously his value has decreased, but they're almost buying low on him in some ways because he's still only 23. He doesn't turn 24 until August, right? And this season, I think the most interesting thing is this season, he's his throws in the big leagues, at least, he threw his fastball 65% of the time. Hitters are hitting 175 off his fastball with a 317 slugging percentage. I kind of ran the numbers. That's top 20 in baseball. And then among starting pitchers, it's top 10. Obviously, he's a somewhat limited sample size because he's only thrown 23 and 2/3 innings. But even when you include relievers, it's still top 20, right? If you set the minimum to a little bit below how many pitches he's thrown, set the minimum, you kind of set the minimums to where he fits in, but so you don't have guys who only throw like 2 pitches. He's that kind of the top of the list in terms of hitters not being able to hit his fastball, at least for base hits, right? And even the expected numbers on his fastball look good. Yes, the secondaries are, those are going to have to be tweaked. Yes, like I wouldn't be shocked if they add a cutter, but that's part of the reason he's going to Worcester, right? And I'll make this comparison a very loosely. This isn't a comparison between 2 players, but what made Garrett Crochet such a good fit for the Red Sox is the fact that he has elite pitches and he can throw them in the strike zone. When you look at Kyle Harrison, like the fastball is very good. If you can add a secondary pitch to that, this year he was only walking hitters at a 9% clip. If you can add a good secondary pitch to the fastball, like maybe make the slider becomes better, or maybe the slider becomes better and they maybe add a cutter, or the changeup becomes a legitimate third pitch, right? You take that and the fact that he can throw his fastball in the zone and hitters can't hit it even though they know he's throwing it 2/3 of the time. Like Harrison has tremendous upside for the Red Sox. I'm not comparing him to Crochet because obviously Crochet was much more established. Red Sox got him. But in terms of Crochet being a good fit because of the really good stuff and being able to pump it in the strike zone, I feel like Harrison in some ways could potentially be a guy where he has good stuff. If he can pump it in the strike zone, he could be someone who really fits what the Red Sox want out of a starting pitcher.
I think that's the other slight issue, though, is everyone in this trade that the Red Sox got back is an if. They're a potentially, which like obviously that's not the worst thing in the world. You're building for your future, but like you are a win now team. Like you have Alex Bregman on what is probably a 1-year deal because he is probably going to opt out. You have Walker Buehler on a 1-year deal. I know he hasn't been great this year, but he's looked good at times. You have 2 more years of Jarren Duran, and it doesn't really seem like they want to re-sign him. You have Trevor Story, who's starting to play much better. And you get back over 500 and you're on this big winning streak and you pulled the Yankees pants down. Like it was so upsetting seeing Yankees fans be so dejected yesterday. Like they were the ones ready to find a bridge. Like they were, Rafael Devers destroys us. The Red Sox embarrassed us. Like they did the same thing.
Now they're like the
last
happiest
year.
people in the world.
And then 2 hours later, they're dancing on Twitter. They're going crazy on Twitter. Like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. This is hilarious. The guy who they openly admit destroyed them. Like they didn't hide the fact that Rafael Devers destroyed them. That's how good he did. So like,
you know what? That's all well and good, but it doesn't change the fact that their team is a bunch of fucking losers. Like let's be real here. That's good for them. Good for them that they're excited for 2 seconds that Devers got traded and he can't be their daddy anymore. But the Red Sox, like
Judge is still a baby back bitch.
Pulled their pants down, thoroughly de-pantsed them over the course of 3 games.
And
that team
to be fair,
they are a bunch of frauds, that Yankees team. So congratulations, take your brief victory lap, but the Yankees have to play another game. I don't know if it's
smoke at 7:00, Jazz. Let's go.
And to be fair,
free smoke.
I think Devers only had 2 hits this series. One of them was a home run.
One was a home run, yeah.
The offense didn't show up this series. It was the pitching staff destroying them.
Right, and the Yankees also like ran into a bunch of outs. Like it was
typical Yankees.
Anthony Volpe can't make a routine play to save his life seemingly. Like he's just unfortunately we have kind of seen this sometimes with guys who have this reputation of being good defensively, where it's like they think they can make every play, and it's like, again, I hate like crapping on guys on the Red Sox, especially younger guys, but somebody kind of does need to tell Ceddanne Rafaela to like hit the cutoff man sometimes. Like
this has been an issue with the Red Sox for forever though.
But I'm saying
did it.
Yeah,
Adam
right.
Duvall did it. They
all
throw it.
But I'm just saying, like, I think some of these guys get it in their minds if they're like a great defensive player that they can make every single play regardless. And like they don't know when to just like put it in their back pocket or hit the cutoff man or that kind of thing. I think that's the case with Anthony Volpe, where I just think, and I think this was the case with Nomar, like it was the case with a lot of guys like that, just like they think that they can make every play, and it's like it's part of what makes them great defensively.
This is a no Nomar slander podcast.
Well, I'm just saying, like, but I'm just saying, like guys that have like,
him. We are.
I'm just saying, like, he was so good, and like other guys like that are so good that they think they can make every play, and then sometimes it's just like they do stuff that you're just like it's few and far between. It doesn't happen all the time, but I think like
that's
but
why
as far as
Derek
the
Jeter won
Yankees
Gold
go,
Gloves, because he didn't do anything stupid.
congratulations to the Yankees.
Yeah, but he just botched the regular ground balls.
Exactly.
Yes,
Congratulations
exactly.
to the
That's what I'm
Yankees fans for your momentary victory lap.
But yeah, I do think that's like the one other optic thing is like all of these guys are reclamation projects. Like it's like, oh well, if they can get Kyle Harrison right, oh well, if they can figure out Jordan Hicks, and it's like you're banking on Andrew Bailey, who people have been calling for his head all year. And again, I really do think that this isn't the worst return, and I do believe Kyle Harrison under this system will be a very good pitcher. But I do think that's another one of those optic things where it's like you're not getting someone that can help this playoff potential team right now. Like if they could have gotten someone who can immediately fill in at a position of need or be a top 2 rotation guy or something.
Yeah. I wonder, again, we'll see. We'll learn more about like what were maybe some of the offers that were out there, that kind of thing. Like, was there an opportunity for some sort of a swap where like another team gave the Red Sox like a guy on a big contract that was like similarly not great, like that kind of thing. Or, like somebody that probably could have helped out right away. I think that like,
or even just like retiring.
Would have been hilarious if they traded him to the Padres and brought Xander back. Would have been hilarious. I'm just saying.
That's one way. I'm just
saying.
I think that like, you look at it from the standpoint of how many teams were willing to do this, how many teams were willing to take on his entire salary. And I think that one thing that keeps coming up a lot is like how there are all of these teams, the Red Sox included. The Red Sox are this like now they're like this very model heavy. They're basically like 100% model, which is, there's certainly drawbacks to that. And that's a big part of this June Lee article that just came out tonight. Like the fact that, that the Giants have taken a step back from that with Buster Posey in charge of baseball operations. Like they're one of the only teams right now that seems to be run based off of like the way that teams were run like all the way up until like 2015.
You got to throw some vibes in there. It can't all be stats. You got to throw some vibes.
So this is the problem. And I think this is what we're going to end up seeing. Like, is that I think the way that Craig Breslow is running the Red Sox front office is it's 100% models, metrics, like, and the other stuff is going to the wayside. And this is how they got into this whole issue with Devers, was that they treated him like he was a number on a balance sheet. And we're going to see how far that goes. And I hate to say this, like, again, we're getting into some of these other topics and things like this. The way that Craig Breslow operates the baseball operation, this is John Henry's wet dream. Like, this is the way that John Henry made his billions, was through exploiting the futures markets, through cold analytical, looking at the numbers, looking at, whatever it was, like soybean futures and that kind of, in corn and whatever, ethanol futures. And like, that's how he made his money. And as increasingly as time has gone on, he wants to have somebody that runs the baseball operation in that cold analytical way in his image. And he has got that with Craig Breslow. And I know people are really mad at Breslow and they want him to get fired and all this kind of stuff. And I'm here to tell you right now, nobody is happier than John Henry right now. He is doing exactly his bidding. Henry. There is much more of a possibility.
Wow.
There is much more of a possibility that Craig Breslow comes out of this experience of trading Devers and gets an extension than he gets fired, because this is exactly what John Henry wants.
Although I will add, do we think Craig Breslow really cares about optics? I would. Okay.
No, clearly he doesn't.
Can I say personally, I would find it kind of a kick in the face, but also like kind of hilarious if Breslow just went, we did what's best for business, we're on to play in Seattle, a la Bill Belichick, and just went just said no.
We'll see. I don't expect a lot. I don't expect
so I don't
much.
Get fined.
Yeah.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Exactly.
But at the very, like, the thing is, the one thing I will say about Breslow, as much as like we can say like we don't like how some things are, I think like for me, my big issue that ended up coming up in time was it wasn't the moves he made, it's the moves he didn't make. And Breslow isn't scared to make a move. That's not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing, but he's not scared to, this is the move we're making, it's happening. Like,
I just
I agree with that.
My issue with the whole analytical thing though is like the Jeff Passan said how it was like the Red Sox were underwater on this deal. And it's like you look at his contract and it's like, cool, he plays DH. Is he any less valuable than Vladimir Guerrero, who's getting $200 million more than him and plays a shitty defensive first base? just because he's playing the position, I don't think that makes him a more valuable player. You know, Juan Soto's making $400 million more than him. Obviously, he's a better hitter, but like he plays a terrible outfield. Pete Alonso's getting more per year right now. Like Seiya Suzuki's just the DH. I obviously, again, he's not making as much, but like Kyle Schwarber, like there's just the DH either. There's a lot of guys who are making a lot of Eugenio Suarez, miserable defensive third baseman. Like,
remember when the Reds tried to put him at shortstop too? Anyone else remember that? Just
the Reds are a weird team, but like I get it. He doesn't play a defensive position. First off, that's not on him. He wanted to play third base, but it's like there's a lot of people that are either bad defensively, who it's like they're not helping their case just because they're trotting out on the field and hurting the team defensively, or guys who are also just DHs. Like Kyle Schwarber's playing left field. That does not make him more valuable. That makes him less valuable to me because he is legitimately a top 10 worst defensive player I've ever seen. There's a reason. There's a reason teams have tried to put him at every position because they're like, "Dear Lord, you suck at this. Try this. Oh wait, you're even worse at this. Go here. Wait a minute, you're terrible here. Go back there." Like it. Yeah. I don't like. Cool. He wasn't playing a defensive position. He was the best hitter in baseball only played 5 games over the last month. Yeah, but like he was the best hitter in baseball over the last month. There is a strong argument he was better than Judge for a little bit. Like obviously the overall numbers aren't as good, but like if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist and Shohei Ohtani's back to pitching now, so I don't even know if you can count him. He's the best designated hitter in baseball. Like I there's value in that. So I don't like the whole like, oh, he's not bringing enough value to the team for this price tag. Let's move him. And it's like, now look at the lineup, man. Like he brought a lot to this team. And it's like, let's say tomorrow to try to save face, they sign Alex Bregman to a 5-6 year deal. What happens in 3 years when his defense declines? Are they like, all right, well, he's out. He's still hitting 290 for us, but he's not a good defender anymore. Get him out of here. And then at what point does it become no one wants to sign a long-term contract with the Red Sox? Because anytime you start to not benefit them in every possible aspect of the game, no matter how long you've been with the team, no matter how good you are offensively, if you're not bringing this to the table, you're out. Like at some point, I feel like that would bother players.
Maybe. I mean, I wanted to, I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of want to push back on that like a slight bit because at the end of the day, money talks. Like if like, especially a guy is a free, like, okay, I think it might have more of an impact on getting guys to sign here while they're here if they view that. I think this is what all the stuff that happened with Devers was very unique. And it's not a situation that I ever remember seeing anything remotely like this. And I don't think we'll see it again. I think this all seems to stem down to Devers. Like, and I'm not saying this is a good reason, but it was just like very bad communication between the team and the player, and the player being upset, and Craig Breslow being upset, and John Henry being upset. Like, I don't think this is going to happen all the time. And this is why it's like so different than like the Betts thing was like, just this is what happens. Like they couldn't agree on a contract, and there was a year left on his deal, and the Red Sox decided to trade him. Like that happens all the time. But I think that to me, for free agents, at the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents. It comes down to like a lot of guys, they want to be comfortable. They want to go where their family is happy. There's tax things, like whatever. But at the end of the day, like it comes down to the money. Like the Red Sox signed.
You give a guy the most money.
Here's my argument to that, though. Chance. Do you trust this ownership to be giving guys more money than everyone else to the point where they take that deal?
That's fair. They
haven't shown that recently.
Well, I mean,
the only reason they signed Bregman is because it went so far, and they were like, "Hey, we'll give you a 1 year deal."
Free agencies, definitely.
Well, the Bregman thing, I think like there was more guaranteed money on the table, but nobody was offering him that AAV, right? Like I think that's what it comes down to is like I'm going to make.
To me, the bigger thing for him was no one was giving him what he wanted, and he was like, "Oh, I can go somewhere for 1 year for a lot of money, and then retry next year." Like, it was getting late in the year. He had to make a move. Like, and don't get me wrong, apparently they gave a good offer. But, like, they didn't get Yamamoto. They didn't get Soto. You know, like, all the big-name free agents, they're not getting. So it's like, I don't trust them to go out and spend enough money where someone's like, oh, you're paying me X amount more, so I'm not going to care about how you treat your players. Like, it's the fact that, and don't get me wrong, again, I agree this is a very unique circumstance, but there were 8 years left on his contract. Like if I'm signing a deal, a 10-year deal, I want to know like, hey, this is where I'm going to be for the next 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. If you trade me at the end, maybe I might still be pissed, but like I don't want to sign if I'm signing a contract with the Red Sox, I'm saying there's a no trade clause in here.
Fine. Then you know what? I think all of these guys that end up being free agents that get to the free agent level, like where they can sign a big deal, they should all try to get.
I do agree. Yes, I do think.
Although if they get a no trade clause, though, you also must make the argument that teams like, well, you take a no trade clause, we're going to give you a little bit less money because then we can't move off you.
Right, but so it's a give and take, right? And there's other things. There's like targets and other things in there, and
even if you could, I don't know if this is possible, but can you do like no trade clause for the first 5 years?
Yes.
I'm pretty
sure that was the case. Isn't that the case with Tatis? Like, doesn't he like? I'm pretty sure Tatis's contract, like he has a no trade now, and then it goes away at a certain point.
Although like that makes more sense.
Although he would be like 10-5 at a certain. Like the thing with Devers was he didn't have a no trade. I think it did kick in at some point, but also like he was going to be 10-5 like relatively soon. Yeah, I think that like these guys should negotiate more of the no trade, or they should negotiate more. Or I think no trades, I feel like they've kind of gone out of vogue a little bit. But
Which is weird because in every other sport they're coming in more and more.
You're seeing more opt-outs though. Like I think that's the trade-off is that teams that the players are saying, okay, if I give you like what you were just saying, Derek, like if I give you the no trade clause, then I'm probably going to give you less money as a result because you're going to have more power in this situation. So the way that the players have pushed back to saying, well, instead of signing for 5 years, I want an opt-out after I'll sign for 6 years, but you have to give me an opt-out after 2 or 3. So I think that's the trade-off that gives them more power. But like at the same time, they can kind of get traded, willy-nilly, whoever can trade them, whatever. So anyway,
I will say this too. Like I do think like in some ways with the whole money thing is, I don't know if I have a different view on it because I'm also stuck being a Liverpool fan. So I get John Henry in 2 teams that I like. But how Liverpool's been run is they don't like to sign anyone over 25.
Yeah.
Once you're over 25, they don't want to sign you. Right?
The Leonardo DiCaprio of soccer clubs.
and a lot of it is based on the return on it.
A lot of it's
based on the return on investment on those guys because if you pay 30 to 40 million for a player, but in their 30, well, their value is only going to dip. But if they're 23, 24, 25, in 2 years, they might turn into a world beater and you might be able to sell them for 100 plus million, right? Soccer's obviously different world, right? With how their transfers work. But you compare it to baseball in a way, you look at all the long-term extensions for Rafaela and Bayo and Christian Campbell, and even the Crochet extension because Crochet is not old, right? Crochet is 27. So yeah. I think in some we haven't seen the Red Sox Bogart. When Bogart's hit free agency, were the Red Sox ever gonna? Maybe they wouldn't have matched the money over 11 years with the Padres again, but the Red Sox were never gonna give Bogart's 11 years. They never were, right? And can't blame them for that. But Bogart's at 30. You're not gonna give him 11 years. It just was never gonna happen. Obviously, the Raffy deal, takes him through his only his age 36 season. I'm saying only because some guys are signing deals that take them till they're 40 or older. But I think in some ways everyone was talking about the Red Sox being in on Soto. Well, Soto was a young free agent. Guys don't hit free agency at 26.
Right.
Normally, right? Soto's the outlier, right? So the Sox being supposedly in on Soto in the offseason kind of makes sense. He's only 26. If you sign him,
it was 100% the reason why they were in on it. Because guys that are of his caliber don't get to be free agents.
No,
happen.
They don't.
Why they were on Yamamoto too?
Exactly, and at 25, right? And I think that's the thing. The Red Sox, I love a Framber Valdez. They're not going to go after Framber Valdez in free agency. He's 32. He's going to be 32 this offseason. You
talk about extreme ground ball pitchers. I mean,
that too. Yeah. That might not be the best fit considering some of the defensive woes the White Sox have had at times either. But it's just the whole money thing is interesting because clearly if they have someone they like, a Garrett Crochet, they will spend the money, right? I know Crochet is an extension, not a free agent signing, but they traded for him and then gave him the extension. So I do think how they spend money is also too dependent. It's going to be dependent on the age of people because this offseason, there's a lot of good free agent pitchers, but you get like Cease's 30, but that's kind of it. I think there might be one other guy who's 30, and like everyone's like 31, 32, 33.
Free agency,
right?
honestly, is not exciting the next few years.
No,
there's
well,
not.
that too either. But
right, and the reason why is because all these guys sign extensions beforehand. Like this is why they got to like make these deals happen. And I do think that unfortunately, like, I go back to something else that I'll just bring up. Like the Red Sox really screwed up the whole entire Devers, like his, they should have signed him for a lot cheaper earlier on. And the fact that they like didn't even approach him about a contract until like a year before they actually signed him to that contract was just such malpractice on the part of both the Dombrowski regime and the Bloom regime. Like, I wonder if the number was smaller. Too. Well, yeah, of course. Like, it all goes back to that. But like the fact that like they didn't like make more of an effort after it was like super clear that Betts wasn't going to sign, that like I feel like Devers was the guy they should have tried to give the contract to then. And the fact that they had to like wait through all the COVID stuff and like 2021, like after the 2021 season was really when they should have tried to make the deal with Devers, and they didn't even wait. They didn't even do it until ahead of the 2023 season. Like, I just think that like you go back to it, and I just wonder if, maybe this whole thing plays out a lot differently if he's not making this much money. If he's not making as much money as he ended up making on this extension, and he'd be playing right now on that extension that he should have signed, where his AAV would probably be more in maybe the $15 to $20 million range as opposed to the $30+ million range. Like the whole thing goes back to that. It was just so we are seeing it. Like the Red Sox, like this is if you want to give Breslow credit for stuff, it's like, okay, they signed Bayo, they signed Rafaela, they signed Campbell already. They gave Crochet the extension. That's a little bit different. But in terms of the homegrown guys, I just really, really hope that they can make inroads on Meyer and Anthony during the season, get those guys to sign, and then give them that guarantee that they'll at least get them. Like, to me, it's like, okay, this is the other thing about like why maybe it's not as hard to get some of these guys to sign as much as you can, because like it's almost like, so in the NBA, it's the same thing, right? Where it's like these guys sign these massive contracts, and like guys get traded all the time. It's not, or like we've seen examples of guys sign these like big mega contracts, and then like a year into them, they demand to be traded, like Ben Simmons, like these guys, like they sign these mega contracts, and then because it doesn't matter, like at the end of the day, they're going to get paid. Like so like a guy like Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, maybe they would be like, like leery of like the fact that they could sign one of these deals and they could just turn around and get traded. But at the end of the day, unless they commit like a Wander Franco level offense, they're going to get that money, like they're going to get paid. Yeah. So at the end of the day, like I think a lot of these guys treat it, they understand it's a business. I think it's a good lesson for some of those guys. And I think I've seen a quote from Trevor Story already that's come out tonight about like this trade is a reminder of how that this is a brutal business, and it is a business at the end of the day, and it does suck. And I wish there was a little bit more of a personal touch here with some of these guys, but like I just think like at the end of the day, if they're going to offer you that money, you're going to get that money regardless. You may end up getting it in San Francisco, but you're going to get it no matter.
Seems like he's happy though. So
I also didn't like the wording of like they called it unsalvageable, the relationship, and it's like
it's a Red Sox.
Manny Ramirez used to ask to get traded every day. Yasiel Puig was like doing the most absurd crap with the Dodgers for like 4 years before they finally got rid of him. Wander Franco was on the Rays. He was still in their system much longer than Rafael Devers was in the Red Sox system following the Devers situation. Yeah. Compared to like Franco was doing very illegal things, and they kept him for like a year and a half before finally, like, I really feel like this was just a knee-jerk reaction. I'm not saying you don't trade him. Like maybe you do feel like he's hurting the team and stuff. I just feel like you maybe take your time a little bit more. But I think could have been avoided. With Devers gone, who do you think have the top 3 WARs on the Red Sox for hitters? We're not going to count pitchers.
Like just with the Red Sox?
Yes.
Are you talking about like? Are you talking about this season?
Right this season.
Oh, Rafaela, right?
Narvaez.
And is it still Bregman?
It's Bregman's number 1 with a 3. Carlos Narvaez is 2 and was already ahead of Devers with a 2.4. And then Cedar Rafaela was tied with Devers with a 2.3.
Man, I mean,
damn,
again,
how's that Rafaela extension looking, people?
we're giving
I
Breslow
will
crap,
just-
but like, yeah, he signs Rafaela to the extension, and the Narvaez trade.
He traded for Carlos Narvaez.
How's the extension working?
We got the bobblehead,
pretty good
bobblehead,
and I think
bobblehead.
That might have been you, Jake, who said about.
What did I do now?
I feel like someone was mad at you on Twitter because you mentioned you were talking about Carlos Narvaez for Elmer Rodriguez Cruz.
Yeah.
And someone said like, oh, there's no way they could have known he was going to be a good hitter because he wasn't a great hitter in AAA. And it's like, we don't get the numbers and the stats that they get.
Right.
We don't see the things that they see. And maybe they did genuinely see like, hey, this is a great defensive catcher and there's something in the bat that we can unlock. Like I said it, I don't like a lot of things that Craig Breslow has done. It's very hard to get mad at him for some of the moves he's made, and that's one of the big ones. Like Elmer Rodriguez Cruz has been phenomenal in the Yankees high A. It's high A. He was there last year. Like this is his second year in high A. Don't get me wrong. Like later in this show, we're going to talk about Eduardo Rivera looking amazing and Payton Tolle looking awesome. And that's not. I'm not saying you can't do that if you're a Yankees fan, but like. That's still a lottery ticket. You're still way too far away from the majors to be like, this is the move. Like the Red Sox got a guy who was going to be an all-star this year. Like if it wasn't for Cal Raleigh, he would be the all-star, the AL all-star starter. So it's just, I really feel like that's one of those things where it's like, there's a lot you can crap on Craig for, but he has made some very positive moves for this team. And it's that analytics that I was just saying I think there's too much of. I think it's too computery. I guarantee you that's a part of the reason why they targeted Carlos Narvaez is they saw something in the analytics and the numbers and this, that, and the other thing. And they were like, let's bring him over. We don't have to trade a lot. And let's figure it. And he's not only is he the starter, and thank God, because no offense to Connor Wong, but dear Lord, has that been a tragedy.
He should be stripped of the number 12 so it can be given to Jordan Hicks.
But like he's been a top 3 catcher in baseball this year. So, there's going to be some negatives, but there are positive things he's done. So it's hard to get behind him with certain moves he's made and the way he relays things, and it just doesn't seem like he's a people person. But there are reasons to think that this team could still make the right moves to win games.
Yeah, it's true. I will just say like I am somewhat excited about the Red Sox team in the sense of like, I'll use an example. Jarren Duran hits a single. Is he really going to steal if Rafael Devers is hitting?
He did?
Yeah.
He did, but like...
He's also not hitting first anymore anyway.
Well,
although I think he is tonight.
Yeah, but like, if Rafael Devers, with now that Rafi's not hitting second behind Duran, does Duran maybe get more freedom to run even more than he has been? Right?
Well, not to crap on the guy, but you got to get on base to steal bases. He hasn't been very good at that lately.
But also too, but it's not just him though. Story, Cedar.
Yeah, no, they have. There's a ton of
David Hamilton. David Hamilton can't get on base, but if he does get on base, he's starting tonight.
That's the issue. Is like those 4 guys are very fast. Duran leads them with a .319 on base percentage. But but yeah, they do have a ridiculous amount of speed, and maybe they do try to utilize that a little bit more now. There's still a lot of positives in this lineup. It's just that the glaring omission of Rafael Devers is absurd. You have literally just a couple weeks ago, the whole thing was you don't want these guys to be the savior of the team, the rookies. And now it's like, hey, we just traded our superstar, and Roman Anthony, you're batting 3rd, and Marcelo Meyer, you're batting 5th in the first game without him. Go win us baseball games.
Yeah,
so
it's not great.
That's a big issue. And Christian Campbell, you're now DHing, which is what he was doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it isn't the greatest. It's funny though, because I start to look at things and I look at other teams, the Rays have been amazing as of late, and it's they have Jonathan Aranda, who's probably playing who's playing out of his mind, and it's like Junior Caminero, who top prospect. I'm not saying any of the Red Sox top prospects are going to do what he's doing, but I'm just saying top prospect. And then it's like guys like Yandy Diaz, who's good, but like it's not the like down ballot MVP candidate he once was. Like Brendan Lau's good, but not great, right? Like it's funny because you see teams like the Rays pull it off every single year, and it's like, and the Red Sox are at the point without Bregman, without obviously Raffy not being on the team anymore, without Casas, without Abreu as of now, although he's coming back soon, without Yoshida, they are down from the start of the season 5 of their best hitters, at least from the start of their, just in terms of who's in the organization. I know Yoshida hasn't played yet this year, but the point I'm making is from the start of this, from the people who are in the organization on opening day to now, they're down 5 of their best hitters. And it's kind of crazy considering that a team who's they're still at 500, right? The pitching just had an amazing week. Doesn't mean the Red Sox team can't win games. So you've seen, like I said, we've seen teams like the Rays have at times lackluster lineups and still pull off, like the Rays won like 14 out of like 18 or 19 or something stupid like that.
Every year
right?
They do it.
Every year, every single year they do it, right?
Every year I feel like they start off slow and it's like, yeah, this team sucks, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're 50-31, and it's what the hell happened?
Yeah, and it's like this pitcher's got like a 2 ERA in the line. Like Drew Rasmussen has like, this is totally off topic, but like Drew Rasmussen has a career sub 3 ERA, and he's like, if you weren't in the American League, a fan of an American League East team or the Milwaukee Brewers because he was traded in the Willy Adames trade, you might have no clue who he is. He's got a sub 3 career ERA as a starter.
We have quotes dropping, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of guys like basically saying, like, it is what it is. Like, they don't, apparently Breslow has not addressed the team.
Yeah, Walker Buehler said outside perspective, it would be logical for Breslow to address the team, but said he feels they're not entitled to an explanation.
Yeah,
to me, that kind of sounds like he's saying, give us an explanation.
Well, Crochet kind of said the same thing. There was something from Ian Brown who basically said that, like, it's like a normal atmosphere in the clubhouse. Like it's not like guys are down or anything. Like they're just kind of going about their business. Like it's a normal first day of a road trip. Like, so it's interesting.
I know you mentioned the June Lee article. Did you see that quote, that part about Carl Mosch, the Red Sox scouting supervisor, team employee since 2017? He ended the call by saying, "Thanks, Brez, you fucking stiff." And Brez, I don't know, man.
That's not that's a bad sign.
Thicker skin, though. Have thicker skin.
This is a bad, but like I agree. Like I don't know. Like that's one of those situations where I feel like you can't. I don't think you can let that go.
I know, but it's not like he meant to hang up, which doesn't make it much better.
No, but like, here's the thing, though. Like if you're in this position, you're a leadership position, and that's how people are talking about you, you've done a bad job. And like there has to be like, yeah, I understand. Like you probably can't keep that guy around if he's cursing you. And I know it's like a hot mic situation. Like it wasn't supposed to be. Like people have gotten fired for a lot less in the corporate world. Trust me. But like I think that if as a leader, if your subordinates are talking about you like that when they think that you're kind of behind closed doors or they don't think they're being heard, that's an indictment of your leadership. And I would hope that Craig Breslow has internalized some things from that discussion, but it seems like maybe he hasn't. Anyway, I gotta go. The physical limitations of this are creeping up on me, and you guys have other stuff to talk about. So, I'm glad I made
it to the hour 30 mark.
Yeah, I'm hour 30 mark before we're talking really.
We haven't even talked about the minors.
Last week it was that we've just hit the 2 hour mark and we've just finished AAA. Like,
yeah, well, I'm gonna leave that to you guys. Next week I will be back in full force, but this was fun.
Awesome.
And
I will say real quick before we move on, guess the prospect last week was Cole Tolbert. I feel like Jake, you'd be happy that Hunter did figure that one out.
Yeah,
it took me literally till the end, but I got it.
That was funny. All right, guys, I will be back next week.
All right, thanks for hopping on.
Show.
Yes.
Bye, everyone. I will see you next week.
Yes, we do appreciate Jake joining us, taking the time that he does have. I will just add though, I do want the June Lee article did mention the audit that Breslow seemingly initiated. At least how the article worded it. That's what it seemed like. Like Jake said, John Henry's wet dream.
Yeah.
Making things more efficient, and that isn't always the best people pleaser. I do go back to like the whole like Breslow kind of has balls for making a move like this, with the timing, right? Because this is a timing where you typically wouldn't make a move like that. Typically, you wait till at least after the draft to make a big move like that. So, I mean, I do respect the balls that he has to pull that off.
I know I'm very anti-Breslow, so maybe I'm reading between the lines too much, but a lot of these quotes are coming off very passive-aggressive to me. Like, Crochet called it a tough blow and shock to lose Devers, but said he has had a data process and wants to move forward. Multiple players, including Crochet and Buehler, don't think the front office owes the clubhouse an explanation on the trade. To me, like saying it's a blow and a shock and then saying, oh, they don't owe us an explanation. I think they are owed an explanation, and they absolutely are. I don't care if like there's the reports that some players were tired of Devers and felt like him not playing first was an issue, and I don't care if they liked him or not. I feel like you're still owed an explanation on like, hey, you guys were on a winning streak, and we just traded the best hitter in the lineup for a lot of guys who aren't going to contribute right away. Like we're I'm not going to say they're punting on the season. I still think there's very much a chance they make the playoffs, especially if they make other moves. But this is very much a step backwards at the moment for the win now crowd. And I do feel like some of these quotes very much feel like I'm not going to say we're owed an explanation, but give us a damn explanation, because to do it out of the blue is, I think, the part that is probably pissing off of a lot of the players. And I don't want to say making them scared, but like, I wouldn't want to talk crap on Breslow either if I'm like, cool, you're going to ship me off tomorrow if I say I don't agree with this. I don't know. I just
I wonder
the
if this
June Lee
could,
article, the quotes, everything's making me feel even worse about the guy.
I wonder if this could motivate the team to be like, oh yeah, you don't believe in us so much that you traded away our best player.
I do think that could be a good
that
benefit of maybe the young guys step up. I don't think it's fair to throw them into the fire, but like maybe we see Roman Anthony turn it up. Maybe Marcelo Meyer continues to hit homers. Maybe David Hamilton, who will now be getting more playing time, maybe he turns back into 2024 David Hamilton.
Connor Wong gets an RBI.
Maybe Connor Wong gets a hit with a runner in scoring position. Maybe positives come out of this. Maybe Christian Campbell gets to play DH for a couple weeks before they have to figure things out, and maybe he figures it out at the plate. Maybe it helps him get a little bit healthier, and
maybe
he starts hitting again.
Comes back from his trip to Jupiter.
Yeah, from his world tour where he's just being a tourist everywhere. Like maybe things work out well. It's just it's hard to be too excited about.
It's hard to be positive when you trade away your best player who helped.
Yeah, like I'm trying to be very positive, but I'm also trying to. I think Jake said it on Twitter, or Ed might have said it. Ed Hand said, like, there's the analytic Ed Hand who's trying to like see this as a positive, and then there's the fan Ed Hand that like thinks this is the stupidest thing in the world. And that's very much how I feel, where I'm like, I'm trying to look at this rationally and be like, okay, well, the relationship was bad. Maybe they were going to trade him at some point anyway. The return really isn't as bad as some people are acting like it is. Like maybe Kyle Harrison becomes great. Maybe maybe they use that money to sign someone else, whatever it is. But then the fan side of me is like, this was our baby boy.
Yes.
And
I think too,
Devers.
Even more so too, when you follow the minor leagues and like, this isn't just Devers since his big league debut. This is a Devers since like he started playing professional baseball. Right? Like Devers, the only organization Rafael Devers has known is the Boston Red Sox organization.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I think it will be interesting to see what Breslow says. And like I said, it would be kind of a kick in the face, but also it would be kind of funny if he just went, we did what we think is best for business. What we did what's best for the team. And just no explanation on top of that. And in all honesty, even if we get an explanation, it's not going to be a full explanation. And in all honesty, Breslow can't really give a full explanation to the public because like you can't really play your hand either. I mean, you play your hand too much, other GMs are going to try and capitalize on that either. So, like, I'm not expecting Breslow to give a whole ton of information either. And in some ways, I don't mind it in some ways. Obviously, like, when something like this happens, you kind of want an explanation, but the other part of me is very much like, I don't totally mind some secrecy. Like, don't totally mind it. Like I don't like
mind
it.
secrecy, some secrecy to the public, but the reports of apparently like 90% of people in the front office don't know what's going on. That's where the issue is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, I don't think that I would love to know everything, but at the same time, I don't think the public should know everything because, for one thing, then all the other teams know everything, and you don't want them to know everything. Like, so I get that point, but yeah, it's last week the podcast was derailed for like this super positive thing, and this week it's derailed for just a completely opposite reason, and it's weird because 6 p.m. yesterday after the Red Sox game, they win, they sweep the Yankees. I was so ready for this to be like the most excited, happy podcast we've done in a while, where it's like, dude, the big three are all up. The Red Sox are winning a lot. I went to Worcester, or I went to Lehigh Valley to see the Worcester games. I got to talk to some players. They looked good. Like Portland had some big performances. Greenville had some big, like everybody's been doing things. And it was like, it felt like the vibes were so high, and it's like 24 hours later, we're an hour and 36 minutes into the podcast, and we haven't even talked about a minor league player outside of the people that they traded for.
Yes, literally. And that's what too is like, it's almost so damning in a way because we're supposed to be the minor league show, but like here we are talking about the big league team because they made a literal organizational changing move. Like, this is a move that has trickle effects throughout the entire organization. This isn't just a team move for the big league team. This is a move. This is an organizational shift, an organizational reset in some ways, or a change, right? And in some ways, like some people go with the saying, you have to cut the head off the snake. And if they felt some negativity, whoever started with Rafael Devers, and that's where the trade came from, I guess getting the top of their problems out. But like, we also don't know how bad the issue was. Maybe it was just all overblown, right? Like, we don't know. That's all for speculation, and speculation is kind of stupid because, like, what's the point? The trade already happened.
And I don't really want to say too many negative things about him because he did so much for the organization and everything. But like, and it sucks because we're going to hear the front office side of things, which I said it earlier. I don't think they're going to like make things up, but I do think they're going to embellish things. But like, we'll never truly know how this was affecting the clubhouse. Like, maybe some players will come out and talk about it, but maybe things really were bad. Maybe
I don't think we'll find out if they are bad for another couple of years, though.
Yeah. Like, maybe in 6 years somebody will write a book or something. But like, we're not going to know.
Lucas Giolito.
But like, we're not like, maybe he had genuine issues with some of the players. Maybe some of the players had issues with him. Maybe players really did feel like he gave up on the team. Like, but at the same time, like, you're seeing Crochet say, like he said, it was a shock for sure after the run we just had this past week. Like, yeah, that's the thing though, is they were turning it around. I don't know. If they would have gone 2-7 in their last 9 against all AL East teams, against the Yankees and Rays instead of 7-2, then maybe it wouldn't have been. I genuinely
it still would have been
wonder
shocking, but like, it wouldn't have been like as absurdly shocking.
I wonder if they wish that happened. Like, I wonder if Breslow's like, damn, why couldn't you guys just keep sucking? Because if the Red Sox were 10 games under 500 right now, people would still be pissed. Like, it's a 28-year-old in the prime of his career with 8 years left. But everyone's thinking this year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the promises from the previous regime with Hyman Helm, where it's like, yeah, we're gonna try and win, but like, we're trying to build the farm system to be good, not just from now, 5 years from now. Well, it's 5 years from then, and they're middling around 500 still. Like, there's no other way to put it. And now you trade away the face of your franchise after the last face of your franchise got traded away to try to reset everything. And then resetting everything didn't work, although I do think it's kind of hard to rebuild when you're still trying to win. But like, you also are in Boston, right? Like, you can't just throw in the white towel on 4 or 5 plus years, a la the Houston Astros, and go, yeah, we're just going to win 50 to 55 games every year for like 4 years.
bring in, yeah, cool, we get Correa and Bregman and Kyle Tucker and all these guys, but like, yeah, cool, you won a World Series, but like, at what cost in some sense? Because like, they were bad for a like really bad. Those Astros teams, those last couple years in the National League Astros, and like first couple years in the American League, miserable. Those teams are miserable. You can't do that in Boston. You just flat out can't, right? The fans won't accept it, right? And that's somewhat what makes being a Red Sox fan special in some ways, right? We have high demands for the team, but also too, when stuff like this happens too, like it is very much too like it is like, at least when you're I guess some ways when stuff like this happens, when you're promised, continued success and and the whole like this long-term plan, well, there also isn't a ton of patience sometimes for a long-term plan, right? And I think that's we're getting kind of the side effects from that when 2021 they go on this amazing run, and if Laz Diaz isn't a little isn't a pea brain, or like they might have, hell, who knows what happens, right? In 21, then 22 the team underwhelms, 23 and 24 happen obviously, and like I'm not saying this has anything to do with trade, but like the only real, I guess, common denominator in some ways is Rafi. I'm not saying that has anything to do with it. I don't think it does, but like this is a organizational reset, right? Rafi's not the face of your franchise anymore. They're going to need a new face of the franchise. Don't know who it's going to be yet. It might be Garrett Crochet, right? It might be.
That's odds the issue, though. Like, you got rid of the face of your franchise without a clear successor. And like, yes, Garrett Crochet, I should say without a clear offensive successor.
Yes, because a lot of the times, two faces of the franchise, unless you're like the Tigers or Terry Skubal, right? Like a lot of faces of the franchise are on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt Jr., Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani's different. He's a unicorn. But, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Julio Rodriguez, Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Juan Soto, right? All offensive players. Yeah. Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, right? All offensive players. Then you go to the guy who's third in ERA since the start of 2021, Framber Valdez. Who cares, right?
But like your options after Devers, it's like Bregman, who's on kind of a 1-year deal and is in his 30s. Jarren Duran, who's 28, having not a great year, and again,
could be traded too.
It really doesn't seem like they're keeping him past his arbitration years. Trevor Story's in his 30s and has been underwhelming.
They could have Dom Smith be the face of the franchise. He might be getting TFA'd soon.
And then it's like all rookies. It's like Cedar Rafael is in his second year. Narvaez is a rookie. Marcelo, Roman, Christian Campbell, rookies. Like you don't have when you trade that big player, you want to have that torch easily passed instead of being like,
especially if you're not going into a full blown rebuild either.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, Roman Anthony with your 30 career at bats. I don't even think it's that, with your 17 career at bats. Come on, buddy, you're the new face of the franchise. Go bat third. Like that's terrifying. I think that sucks for him. He just turned 21. He already had all this pressure on him for being the top prospect in baseball, and he's on the Red Sox and all these things. And there was already the pressure of like, oh, he's up in the majors and it's a playoff potential team, go perform. And now it's like, this is a playoff hopeful team without their best hitter, and their other best hitters hurt, and we still don't really know how long until he comes back.
Yeah.
And their other best hitter is having a down year in Duran, and their other best hitters are two first basemen who nobody wants for some reason.
Yeah. And then their other best hitter hasn't played, and then their other best hitter has basically his leg torn to bits. Like,
oh man,
I'm not gonna lie though, it has been a really unfortunate year for the Red Sox. It has been.
Which
it's been a really unfortunate year.
Other fan bases don't want to hear this because I'm sure every fan base complains about this, but like, it feels like the Red Sox have had miserable injury luck for years now. Every year it feels like something big happens where it's like, damn, that changed the course of the season.
I felt like that 2018 team was almost like had like perfect luck somehow. Maybe we're getting like the bad luck from it.
Which like I feel like that's 80% of any championship in any sport
Yes.
is what team stayed healthy that year. Like the Celtics last year, everybody complained that, they got to keep playing teams that were hurt. And it's like, yeah, that's what happens. It's the team that stayed healthy. And then this year, the Celtics were the team that got hurt.
Yes.
And it's like, that's what happens.
Yes. I think too, it's like, in some way too, it also shows how hard it is to have continued success. I mean, look at the Dodgers, right? How many, like, they have so many pitching injuries that Shohei, you can't send him on a rehab assignment anyways, because, you can't have his bat out of the lineup. But like, like the amount of Clayton Kershaw's kind of had like one of the, like, is Clayton Kershaw the ace again? I mean, he just went 7 innings without giving up a run, I think, his last start.
Shutout innings, yeah.
But like Clayton Kershaw is what, like 50? Right? Not actually, but like the point still stands, right? Like they've had obnoxious amounts of injuries. Obviously, a little bit different because they're spending money literally, like they have a money tree in their in their backyards, or like just outside of the stadium or whatever. But like I don't know. The Red Sox have been unlucky this year with injuries, but even then, like this is a team that they started to get hot, and a lot of it was around the pitching, which had a lot of injuries early in the year and still has had a lot of injuries. Right now, I mean, Carter Crawford, Tanner Houck, Chris Houck's going on a rehab assignment actually this week. Chris Murphy, Patrick Sandoval obviously hasn't pitched all this year, but still. Winkowski, Liam Hendricks, Justin Slayton. They bring in Jordan Hicks. He's on the injured list. I know Nick Birdie's on the injured list as well. At points, Buehler, Giolito, Bayo.
You know who I feel bad for? Which, well, first off, I do want to say Zach Penrod got DFA'd, which sucks.
Yes.
I'm very confused by that. They were like super high on him. He looked great in the majors last year. The bullpen's been solid, but like there's still question marks. There's people that have struggled. I feel like there were other options in that. But I feel kind of bad. And I know it's weird to say because like he got promoted to the majors. I shouldn't feel bad for him. Nate Eaton, last time he got promoted was before Roman Anthony got promoted. And everyone thought it was going to be Roman Anthony, and instead they announced it was Nate Eaton. And the fan base was just like, this dude sucks. This is stupid. Screw this guy, blah, blah, blah. He gets sent back down, and now Rafael Devers gets traded, and the move to take his spot is Nate Eaton again. And the same thing's happening to him. The guy's gotten called up twice this year, has yet to play an inning for the Red Sox. And it's just every fan hates him because both times it has been for a bad situation. And it's like, obviously, even though he struggled, I think Roman Anthony getting called up has been a spark plug for the Red Sox. Like, I genuinely think that was like a big turning point for the team. Like, oh, we go now, like the top prospect in baseball is here. If the Red Sox would have just waited and then they called up Roman Anthony after they traded Devers, I think the discourse would be so much easier for the Red Sox right now. Like fans would still be mad, but then it would be like, oh, Roman Anthony's here. That's cool. And I think like people would be saying like, it sucks that we can't be more excited about Roman Anthony getting called up. But I do think that there would still be a lot less backlash because it would be like, man, at least Roman Anthony's here. So like it's a weird thing where
Eaton. Nothing against Nate Eaton, but like
genuinely feel bad for him because like every Red Sox fan hates him right now, and he's done nothing. He's been phenomenal in AAA. He's been really good.
Yes,
like he deserves a shot in the majors. But like, there's bad.
He can play all over the place too. He's been playing a lot of shortstop recently. Can play third. Can play the outfield. I know he's played second base before too. Like, play all over the place. And nope. you get called up when everyone wanted Roman, and then you get called up after Devers gets traded.
Garrett Crochet. Let's make sure when the trade deadline rolls around, we're in a good spot and we can be buyers and just continue to improve this team and be ready to go down the stretch. Again, that to me sounds more like he's mad. I'm probably reading into these too much, but like it feels like these guys are saying.
I don't know if I would say mad, but like I would say like
frustrated,
maybe a little bit irked.
Yeah, because like to me, that's him saying like, well, we were going to be buyers at the deadline. Now let's make sure we still are. Like that's how I'm reading that is like, oh, well, hopefully we can continue to be buyers. but we just lost
Yeah.
our best hitter, so who knows? Which Garrett Crochet already wasn't getting any freaking run support.
Nothing changes.
I guess nothing changes because he wasn't getting it anyway. So, but yeah,
Hey, imagine he doesn't get any run support, but Rick Porcello could get all the run support in the world.
Baseball's so weird, man. Every year there's like a designated guy on the Red Sox who the team just doesn't score for. Every year there's someone who the team's just like, no.
Is it like the opening day starter? Because like, is that maybe a thing?
I don't know. It's just every year it's frustrating.
Maybe they start Winkowski on opening day next year and then never start him again.
Oh man, he got 60 dayed, right? Yeah, they 60 dayed him.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that's another easy move they could have made instead of DFAing a left-handed pitcher who's looked really good, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean Hendricks maybe to the 60 day could have happened.
Yeah, I feel like he's out for a while.
But like he's
even if he's not, I feel like that relationship is bad. Like he openly made comments about his usage and stuff, and
I hate to be like the bearer of like even more negative stuff, but like I know Vaughn Grissom didn't have a terrible week this week, but like he's gonna turn into a DFA candidate real quick.
Yeah,
real quick.
Yeah, it's there because they didn't solve any of their like logjam issues really. I know you could be like, oh, they get to move pieces around a little bit more now, but they literally already have talked about like Masataka Yoshida. He's going to just DH. He's not going to play the field.
There's no way.
Have too many outfielders.
If he's going to play the field, he's not going to be ready till like 2028.
Yeah, you already have
what are
too
we
many
doing
outfielders.
Here? Okay, do I want to see Masataka Yoshida's little short legs and like move at like a snail's pace in the outfield? No offense to Yoshida, but like he takes 700 steps just to get from the batter's box to first base. No offense.
Hey man,
like
I feel bad because like I genuinely think Masataka Yoshida is a very good hitter, I also genuinely think his defense is not as bad as some people think it is. It's not good, but like he could play left field and it was fine. Like the fact that the Red Sox were just like, no, he's a DH last year pissed me off all season. Because I was like, you can put him in left and it's not that bad of a problem.
He just has literally zero range.
Yeah. Which you don't need.
Like if the ball's hit down the line or into the gap, he's not going to get to it.
But like, you don't need a ton of range.
If he gets to it, he's going to make the play.
Especially if Duran and Rafaela, or if one of them is playing center, you don't need a lot of range in left. No. They'll cover you for that. But like I feel bad for him because now it's like if he comes back and is healthy, now he's replacing Devers. Like you're in such a crappy spot of like, dude, you better be an all-world
And he also
hitter.
still hits left-handed as well.
Yeah, he doesn't solve the lefty problem, but
that problem's never going to get solved at this point. Let's be honest with ourselves. No. They're never solving that at this point.
But I do feel like this is like the opening of the floodgates. Whether it's buying or I think they're going to do a little bit of both. If they're still in the race, they're going to do both. If at the deadline they're bad,
if the Phillies still want Duran, like I'll take Andrew Painter, and then just Crochet, Painter, Harrison.
I genuinely wouldn't be shocked if Duran's gone either way. I wouldn't be shocked if they're still doing good. I wouldn't be shocked if they're doing bad. I would not be shocked if it was like if they're doing really bad, they sell off Bregman, they sell off Duran, they sell off Aroldis Chapman. Maybe even like Rob Refsnyder could get you something. Giolito and Buehler. Maybe Abraham Toro gets you something if he continues to hit well. Like, and then even like not just trades. I think there's going to be DFAs, like you said. Like Hendricks could get DFA'd. Vaughn Grisham is a genuine option. There's a couple other pitchers and hitters in AAA who like.
If Winkowski wasn't on the 60 day, he would.
Yeah, like this very much feels like this could be the start of.
Josh Winkowski bought himself another year with the team because he got put on the 60 day.
He genuinely might have done that, which I don't even think he'll like because he doesn't seem too thrilled with how he gets used. So, who knows? But yeah, this could be a fire sale, the likes of which we have never seen before. If things get bad. in the next couple weeks, because either way, I think they're selling off a couple more pieces.
Yeah.
Because I think
Also,
they're going to figure out log jams, but
in some ways though, like I don't want to say they have to somewhat sell, but like are they really going to run the rotation they have right now? Houck's going to be healthy at some point. Hopefully Cutter Crawford's healthy at some point. Kyle Harrison, hello. Patrick Sandoval at some point, you would think, maybe at some point this year, right? Like,
it genuinely didn't bother me.
Richard
Harrison,
Fitz, like,
yeah, it didn't bother me that Harrison.
How many starters can you have? Like,
they already had too many.
We do say you can never have too much pitching, but like, you only have 5 rotation spots.
And don't get me wrong,
especially when guys are on expiring deals like Giolito and Buehler.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not like the pitching's been great. Like, it's not like we're like, oh, they have too many great pitchers, but like they have too many major league arms without too many pitchers where it's like you do have to do something with some of them. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind that Kyle Harrison starting the year in AAA or starting his turn in AAA, his Red Sox tenure in AAA, because I think it's smart to have him work on things. They can't do what they did with Quinn Priester though, where he doesn't pitch in the majors all year. Quinn Priester ended up getting 1 start. We can't get to September and be like, Kyle Harrison's still in AAA. I think then fans are going to be rightfully angry about it. Like, I think if we're 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, and Kyle Harrison's still sitting in AAA, and they're like, we're working on the cutter. Like, I think that's when it's like, dude, you gotta move things along a little bit quicker, because that's when it starts to get like the return investment is looking ugly. Unless Jordan Hicks is dominating, and
which wouldn't shock me in all honesty.
Yeah, and the team's doing good and it doesn't become a problem. But like if they're bad and still not giving Kyle Harrison chances in the rotation, that's when things can get very ugly.
Yeah. This team's wild because regardless of what happens, they're going to be very well positioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they sell, they are one of the best positioned teams to sell. They like you said, Bregman especially. If
the amount they could get for Bregman and Chapman is ridiculous.
And then
Chapman looks like the best version of him.
Too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if they do trade Jarren Duran, I know he's not having his best year. He has 2 years of control after this. A team will get, like you said, you could probably get Andrew Painter from the Phillies. Maybe you have to throw in a little something else.
Maybe it's Duran and Chapman, right?
Yeah, but like then you're getting, and I know we just talked about how they have too many pitchers. Then you're getting one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. Like,
I mean, you can dream on a Crochet Painter Harrison.
Oh my God,
you could dream. Like,
give me Bayo as the 4. I know people get mad at him, but like, I know. He's still been good. He's still not terrible.
Exactly.
He's frustrating.
And then you still have Cutter Crawford.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick Sandoval's under contract for 2026 as well. I am a Patrick Sandoval truther. Like,
I like Patrick Sandoval. The issue is, again, it's another reclamation project where it's like they've done this with Giolito and Buehler and kind of Kyle Harrison's not on the level of them, where like he's not as much of a reclamation project. But yeah, like Bayo's frustrated. People get mad at Bayo because it's frustrating because you can tell how good he is. But it's like the numbers aren't bad. He's got like a 3.4 ERA. Like, the whip's not phenomenal. He doesn't strike out a ton, but like he performs. He's been really good the last few times. I don't know. If you told me Kyle Harrison turns into a good pitcher and they do get someone like Andrew Painter, Brian Bayo as my team's 4 would have me ecstatic. Like, and as a genuine 4, not as like a if Walker Buehler's good and if Lucas Giolito is good, like, no, he is the 4. And then, like, Hunter Dobbins is the 5. Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah, it's absurd. And then, like I said, you still have Fitz. You still have Houck. I mean, hell, at that point, Houck might be going back to the bullpen by no wrongdoing of his own besides having a rough start to a season and getting on the injured list, right? Cutter Crawford, like I've been thinking to myself, like, does Cutter Crawford just get traded at some point? Because, like, the Red Sox have a ton of value for a guy who, at best for them, is really a 5-starter. Like, you know what I mean? But, like, he's got a bunch of control left. Like, Like, you know, but like if they end up buying, like they bring in Tibbs, like does Johanfran Garcia become really expendable, right? But he's also a right-handed bat, right? So like
I'm in such a weird boat with him, man.
What about Tibbs, right? Maybe Tibbs gets flipped again. Maybe like Mikey Romero, maybe, you know, maybe it is one of the, you know, high A outfielders. Just please don't be, but like you never know, right? Like they have, you know, they have pieces to buy if they play well and end up buying.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing. Like they have the pieces to be legitimate buyers at the deadline. I mean, imagine what kind of player you could get with the package led by a Johanfran Garcia or like a James Tibbs, right?
Yeah.
Not that I would like trading those guys away, especially Tibbs, considering he's part of the Devers deal. That's a little bit scary.
But I mean, if you're getting something good in return, like that was the issue that people were having with the Devers trade.
Yes,
they didn't get someone to help the team now.
Value.
So if you flip Tibbs for like a legitimate starting pitcher, maybe people aren't as mad about it anymore. And if you
but what I'm thinking though, it probably
like
wouldn't be Tibbs because the fact that they just got him and the fact that.
But I mean, teams have done that before.
Oh, for sure.
And
but
like it sounds like a lot, but if you give up him and Johanfran Garcia and maybe someone else, and you can get like a genuine ace. And it's like now all of a sudden you have
a controllable starter who's going to be a 2 behind Crochet who's young, right?
Yeah, like they do have so much to move. Like this is going to be such an interesting deadline. It's going to be so weird.
It is. We're 2 hours in. We haven't even talked about what any of the minor league teams have done.
We should probably get that.
We probably should. So with that, let's go. With that, we're gonna talk about. We will start with the Blue Sox. We're just gonna run it down the line. I know you were there, Hunter. What do you have for? Obviously, you were there. I know, like, kind of a lot of. Typically, we would go to you right at the top of the show, and be like, "Yeah, Hunter, you were there. Like, what did you hear?" We're now at the top of the third hour. I feel like we're doing like an ESPN like show that has 2 hours and then a third hour on like ESPN Plus.
You flip it over, yep.
And then we go to ESPN Plus. But yes, what happened this week in Worcester, Hunter? What did you get any spicy information while you were there?
It's crazy just how different. Like I was so excited to talk about this. It's crazy how different the vibes are compared to a day ago. First off, I sent you guys a picture. I found more Andy Tracy lore. They had most valuable pigs, and 3 years in a row. It's phenomenal. 3 years in a row, Andy Tracy was the hitter of the year for Lehigh Valley, which was very funny to me. But
roast pig gets the most valuable pig award. Roast beef gets the most valuable pig award. Isn't that something?
I got to talk to a couple of people. First off, Philip Sykes. Just a reminder of just how good of a dude that is. Like, had a couple long conversations with him. Just such an easy guy to root for. Happy to see him back off the dev list. With Roman Anthony up in the majors, he should get more at-bats. He hit a homer last week, and I hope he gets more consistent at-bats because he is someone that, sadly, probably not for the Red Sox, but he could have a future in a major league outfield somewhere. He's a good defender. He's got some speed. He's shown a little bit of power potential. Like there's things there to like. And like I said, with Roman Anthony, I feel like the Devers trade Roman Anthony's 100% in the majors now. Like unless he goes for his next 50 and they're like, we need to send you back to the minors. Roman Anthony's in the majors. Like they now have another roster spot for him. So I'm excited to see Philip Sykes get some more at-bats. Got to talk to Blaze Jordan again. He had another positive week. The batting average and stuff dipped a little bit, but I mean, he was hitting like 360 coming into the week. That's not that shocking. But like he had a 2-run double to give them the lead in the top of the ninth, the one game. Johanfran Garcia hit 2 home runs this week. Possibly the most fun pregame person I've ever watched. Like his batting practice is just him hitting nuke after nuke after nuke. What else
would you expect?
Yeah. Which speaking of Blaze Jordan, at one point hit 4 straight home runs that hit like the top of the back of the billboards. Like they all had to be like 450 feet and just mashing off the back, just insane power. But yeah, Stinson Garcia, the batting practice is awesome. And then they were doing like the long toss, and he caught the first ball normal, and then he maybe caught like 2 balls normal. The rest, like he was just doing like, and it's not like he was doing it and like struggling. He was doing like behind the back, between the legs, like flipping it over his head. And it was like the most casual, impressive thing I've ever seen. It's very fun to watch. Like I said, when you mentioned him as a potential trade guy, I'm on such a weird fence about him, because I think that they could get a very good return for a package led by Stinson Garcia. But I also genuinely think he would be such a good addition to the Red Sox outfield. If they ended up moving some of the major league pieces, obviously, like that's the issue. There's the logjam. But he's very much someone who I think could be a fantastic, very long-term piece for them. Like Stinson Garcia, such a good defensive outfielder. I think he would fit perfectly into right field there. So I can't figure out how I feel about him. And then on the pitching side, Tyler Ruberstein, another fantastic start. 4 hits, over 6 shutout innings, struck out 7, didn't walk anyone. He's got a 2.67 ERA in 5 appearances since getting promoted to AAA. Quick game. When Tyler Ruberstein pitches, every half inning that he's pitching, it like you blink and the inning's over. It's fantastic. He throws strikes. He doesn't give up traffic. It's just the game goes so quick when Tyler Ruberstein is pitching. Very similar sentiment with Isaac Coffey. 5 innings, 1 hit on 1 run on 1 hit, 4 strikeouts, walked 1. Another guy where it was like you look up and all of a sudden it's the 6th inning and it's like, wow, what the hell just happened? 8 1/3 over his first 2 AAA starts. He's only given up 2 runs on 5 hits. And he threw 6 scoreless and hitless innings in AA before being moved up. It really feels like if he didn't have that illness to start the year, he's someone that we would be talking about as like this guy could be helping the major league roster right now. Brian Mata, hell of a month for him so far. So first off, the first game I went to on Tuesday, I got there and he was just outside next to all the people in line. He was like sitting on the fence next to a woman. I'm assuming he was like waiting for something. I don't know if he forgot a glove or glasses, or maybe he was meeting someone. I don't know what it was, but I thought it was very funny because obviously it's 90% Iron Pigs fans. So no one knew who he was. I just kind of I walked by him and I was like, I'm not going to really do anything because I don't want to draw attention to him. But I thought it was funny. It was like, how do you not recognize this? Like, how do you not assume this massive human being in Worcester stuff is a player for the Red Sox? Like, dude's 6'3", 223. He's got neck tattoos. Like, to me, he would pop out very easily. But 3 1/3 innings this week on 2 appearances, didn't allow a run, only gave up 2 hits and a walk, struck out 4 batters. He's got a 4.93 ERA on the year. Like the numbers aren't great. 1.73 WHIP, 270 batting average against, 22 walks and 34 2/3 innings. But he does have 53 strikeouts. And since the start of June, in 8 1/3 innings, he's got a 1.08 ERA, 103 batting average against, 84 WHIP. It feels like things are clicking for him this year. And I can't ever give up on Brian Mata. So it's really cool to see him putting things together right now. And we've talked about it. I know the Sox prospect guys have talked about it. He seems like a very legitimate option for the bullpen soon. Like, they've been cycling people a lot lately. There's been injuries. Brian Mata feels like someone who could get a shot in the major leagues soon. Alex Hoppe, another guy who's been fantastic in June. He threw 4 shutout innings over 2 appearances this week. He gave up 3 hits, no walks, struck out 3. Overall numbers between AA and AAA aren't super great, but in 7 innings this month, he's given up 6 hits, no runs, just 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. And then got to talk to Chris Murphy about like the rehab and everything going on with him before, I think it was Thursday. Just again, a reminder of this is like one of my favorite guys in the organization. I think he's a really talented pitcher. I think he's someone who will help the Red Sox bullpen for a long time. I think he could be a fantastic lefty bullpen arm for years. and just one of the best guys in the organization. Great person. The exact kind of person. Like we spent the first 2 hours talking about like these issues that apparently Devers was having in the locker room. I don't think you would ever have to worry about anything like that with Chris Murphy. Great to catch up with him. Great to hear about the rehab process, how he's feeling about his pitches. We talked about going back to Greenville. He seems to get along with everybody really well, and he didn't have the best outing on Thursday or Friday. I'm blending all my days together. I'm going to say Friday. I think it was Friday. But he was really good in his first outing. And again, this is a guy, he hadn't pitched since 2023. 2024, I think he pitched a little bit in spring training, but he hadn't pitched in like a regular season game since 2023 due to Tommy John. So like a couple bumps on the road are unsurprising. And then just the last thing I want to talk about, I got to talk to Cooper Boardman and Jim Kane, the Worcester Red Sox announced team. Awesome. Just phenomenal people. Great to talk about baseball with them. Great to talk about life with them. I always say I feel like I'm sounding biased just because it's the Red Sox, but the Red Sox minor leagues, and Red Sox fans this will probably just piss them off more, especially because the discourse around Dave O'Brien recently with him getting a little bit too excited on that Aaron Judge home run and people saying he always sounds kind of deadpan when the Red Sox do something good. The Red Sox have the best minor league announcers. And like, I'm not just saying that because it's the Red Sox. I watch a lot of minor league games. There are a lot of announcers who seem uninterested in the game or try to make it too wacky or whatever it is. And they're all just so
kind
good.
Of obnoxious.
Or just kind of obnoxious. I can't think of that.
Home run calls,
I can't think of that one theme that really bothers us. But
that's the worst.
It's miserable.
It's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
But Cooper Boardman,
worse than nails on a chalkboard.
Just awesome, fun. They're great at their job, and it was cool to just sit in the dugout and talk to them before every game. Also, I stole some of the sunflower seeds. I can't think of the name. It's called like Chinook or something like that. It's the sunflower seed brand. Cinnamon toast. It just kind of tastes like cinnamon sugar on a sunflower seed, which I'm not really like. I love cinnamon sugar. I love sunflower seeds. That doesn't really mix all that well. Parmesan pepper, God tier sunflower seed. And then they had like a spicy ranch one, which was okay. And the original is original. But yeah, overall, fun week that I wish I got to be more excited about because the news kind of changed things a lot. And weird to think about how different that team looks now opposed to a day ago. Like going to those games, I saw Nate Eaton at those games. I saw Zach Penrod at those games. I did not see Kyle Harrison at those games. So there's it's a very different team already, which for us will be fun to see at least. Like there's going to be some different people there, some new names. And it will be cool to see how they get acclimated and thrown into the mix. And there's a couple pitchers, especially on that roster, who I think could have a chance at the majors this year. And then there's Blaze Jordan, who we've talked about him being a potential first base option already a lot this year. That feels more likely than ever. Like Rafael Devers is gone. I know he was DHing. But like there's a spot is open for Blaze Jordan a month down the road, especially come trade deadline. If he is still on this team past trade deadline,
sellers too.
Yeah, like if moves are made at the deadline and Blaze Jordan is on the roster, I think he's up in the majors by mid-July. I think we get to that point where Blaze Jordan becomes a legitimate option. And then again, with Johanfran Garcia, I could see him on the major league roster at the same time as Blaze Jordan, and I could also see him being a headliner in a trade. So interesting team to go see, and it's weird how different my thoughts are today than they were yesterday because I feel like you have to look at everything so differently right now because, again, the trade just shakes up so much. It changes how you view this team as buyers, as sellers, as potential playoff team, as you now have a massive roster spot that needs to be filled. So yeah, just it was a fun week that took a massive twist.
Massive twist is definitely an understatement. That's yeah. It is. It's been wild, and I think Worcester probably is the minor team that's going to be most affected by all of this, considering their level right below the big leagues. And I know we'll talk about Tolle and obviously tips and setting there, but I think Worcester. I mean, this week Johanfran Garcia 2 homers, Nate Eaton 2 homers, Vaughn Grissom. I know we mentioned him as a potential DFA candidate. He had a homer this week. And he had 6 hits in his 5 games played. He only struck out 3 times this week as well. So kind of also look at that. That's solid. And then Corey Rozier this week. He went 3 for 7. Right, he played in 4 games. Went 3 for 7, 3 walks, and only 1 strikeout. Also stole a base. Right. And I did find it interesting because Nick Sogard, I feel like obviously I feel like the choosing was going to be pretty much between Sogard and Eaton. I'm assuming Sogard might, unless Sogard isn't able to go back up, because I don't remember when he was sent back down off the top of my head, and I don't have the date sentence. I don't have the day off the top of my head, so I can't do math off the day. I don't know. But I was wondering if maybe it would be Sogard, considering maybe Sogard can also play first base if Toro's playing third and they want to give Romy a day off. Who knows? But they did go with Nate Eaton, but Sogard went 6 for 16 this week. He also had a couple walks and just 2 strikeouts as well. So yeah, I mean, and another thing too, I felt like there's a lot of pitching performances as well. Sucks, obviously. I don't get to mention it. Brian Van Bell didn't pitch at all in the big leagues and got DFA'd. Figures. Would figure. Hopefully, he does something with Reds. But another person we talked about potentially being a big league option, at some point, probably obviously was definitely behind Van Bell on the depth chart. But Tyler Uberstein, another good start this week, right? And they had 5 relievers. Well, I say 5 relievers, not give up a run. But Robert Stock, 1 inning, right? Typically, you're expecting Stock to kind of start and go multiple innings. And then Wyatt Mills, 1 start, 1 relief appearance, 3 innings total. So I'm counting him as a reliever. So I'm counting Stock in this sense because he didn't actually start this week. So 5 relievers who didn't give up a run. But yes, the big ones, like you said, Hoppy and Mata, 4 innings and 3 1/3 apiece without giving up runs, is nice. And then Hoppy in those 4 innings, I mean, no walks, no strikeouts, no walks, no hit by pitches as well. It's a big one as well.
Yeah, that's massive for Hoppy, because that's been the big issue with him this year has been walks. So for him to go a week like that is a massive positive sign. Because I remember even seeing him last year in Portland, and he was one of those guys who the arm talent is so obvious, but you could tell when he was warming up, if it's the 6th inning and he comes out to pitch and he's throwing his warm-up pitches, you could tell if he had it at night. It was either he's throwing 98 right down the dick, which is good in warm-up pitches, or he was throwing pitches in genuinely pitches where they were going to the backstop because the catcher couldn't stop him. So it's good to see him showing much better command this month.
Definitely, and I think that's a big thing too. I mean, we talk about it all the time with some veterans who are in AAA. A lot of time they either don't throw super hard, or they're guys who might throw super hard, but they have no clue where it's going. Right? You look at a guy like Hoppy and even Mata too. Those guys, they the more they command their pitches, the more and more they become viable big league options. Because you can see that the talent's there, you can see the stuff's there. It's just you can't be walking a boatload of guys. It's just you can't, right?
Yeah.
And so those guys obviously, big weeks for the both of them. I don't have anything. You have anything else on Worcester, Hunter?
I just want to say quickly, you mentioned Van Bell getting DFA'd and picked up. Crappy situation that he didn't get to pitch in the majors for the Red Sox. I get it; they're trying to win games. It's just that it sucks that he gets called up for 3 days, DFA'd without pitching. There were a couple situations where you could have thrown him into the game. But I mean, at the same time, you can't really blame Cora for trying to win a game and thinking he's doing what's best for the team. It really felt like BVB was there more to, if there was a situation where it was like, hey, we're putting you out there to go eat 5 innings, go do that. And then I know we kind of already touched on it, but Zach Penrod getting DFA'd feels very much like they're not getting him back. I can't imagine another team isn't picking up Zach Penrod. Like a lefty with really good stuff who has shown it a little bit, like for a short sample size, but has shown it in the majors. I'd be absolutely shocked if he doesn't get picked up. And then also on the discussion of DFAs, Ryan Noda was DFA'd last week, and he did get picked up by the White Sox, so he is also gone. Obviously, not like some incredible piece or anything, but like he was destroying baseballs in Worcester. He was hitting almost 400. He was walking a lot. He had a couple doubles, a couple homers. He played first in the outfield. I genuinely wonder if that didn't happen, if he would have been the move instead of Nate Eaton.
I think he probably would have, in all honesty.
But yeah, he got picked up by the White Sox. Hopefully he gets a chance. They traded Andrew Vaughn, obviously. He was really decent 2 years ago for the A's. Hopefully he gets some of that back, because it was fun to watch him mash in Worcester for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be. It's I don't know. It's interesting with Noda too, because like I said, I do think he probably would have been the guy to get moved. But like at the same time, you look at like how Toro's been playing and how Roman has also been playing. Totally not necessarily needed. I just also realized, can the Red Sox put Garrett Crochet's start back on Wednesday to Friday?
Are you going to? No, you wouldn't be going to the game because they're all West Coast.
No.
Oh, because it's the Giants. No, don't do that, because if Rafael Devers hits a homer off Garrett Crochet,
he won't. No.
Yeah, but like if he did, Red Sox Twitter would explode. That would be the worst day of everyone's lives. Like you could say Devers won it. He did just hit a homer off Max Fried. Like,
but that's also the Yankees.
That's what Rafael Devers does. Is he hits homers off good pitchers that people shouldn't hit home runs off of. That is true though. Yeah, he just dominates the Yankees. So, God, Yankees fans not having to deal with him anymore is killing me. That was even when the Red Sox sucked and the Yankees were good. That was the thing we had over them. Like, cool, you're making it to the playoffs and the Red Sox won 80 games this year, but Rafael Devers hit 400 with 12 homers off you this season. Rafael Devers,
he's Garrett Cole's daddy. Like
Garrett Cole intentionally walked him in the 4th inning of a game with no one on base. Like, he was genuine.
But Marcelo Myers is going to be the new Yankees.
And then the next at bat, Devers got a homer off of him. Like it was. He was in his head so much. I swear to God, fans admitted that he was their devil.
Their kryptonite.
Yankees fans never admit that. Like, there's Yankees fans today that will be like, no, Nomar sucked. Like, they were just like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about Rafael Devers. He's just going to hit a home run against us. There's nothing we can do. Like, that's one of the parts that really gets me, is we don't have that on them anymore.
Marcelo Myers is going to be the new Yankees killer, though.
I hope so. D'Angelo Ortiz will be up in a couple of years. He'll take over his dad's role. That would be hilarious. If in
David
4
Ortiz,
years,
the Red Sox need
a
Masataka Yoshida is going to be the Yankees killer.
Hey, he hit a big homer off him last year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The Masataka Yoshida fan club is going to take over.
Love it.
With that though, let's move on to Portland. I'm starting with Alan Castro. 7 for 25 this week. 2 big dongs, 2 jacks, 2 homers. Jacking those dongs. Let's go.
Come on now. This is a family show.
Also walked 4 times. Hey, we're 2 hours and 23 minutes in. If you're somehow still listening to this,
if people are still listening,
I would assume you are not in the family-friendly category.
It could go either way. Either you're not in the family category or you're only family. You're the only people still listening. It's one of the two.
Alan Castro, the Alan Castro fan club. 7 for 25 this week. 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 4 walks to 5 strikeouts this week. Also swiped 2 bases this week. Shout out Alan Castro. obviously, the injury at the start of the year, very unfortunate, right? But, you look at him this year and, big year for him. He's only played in 29 games so far, 784 OPS, obviously isn't earth-shattering. But 2 of his 4 homers come this week. And, 273 on the season, 360 on base. 14 walks and just 20 strikeouts in those 29 games in Double A is big. You look at last year in Double A, he only had 13 walks in 28 games, and then he had 30 strikeouts. So that's a massive, massive, massive improvement, right? And that's also too, he had 1 home run in those 28 games last year in Portland. He has 4 this year, also 3 doubles, 2 doubles, right? It's been he's really shaken off that. Shout out Taylor Swift. He's shaken off the. Shout out Taylor Swift. He's shaken off that. The rough performance. Hunter's just shaking his head like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" It's 8:33 on a Monday night, and we're still in Portland. We're still talking about Portland here. But. Alan Castro, the improvement has been significant from last year to this year. It really has been, right? And that's a big thing for him. The guy who was, Rule 5 eligible last year obviously was unprotected. I mean, obviously, right? You can tell why he was unprotected last year. The rough numbers in Double A make sense, right? This year's going to be interesting because if he continues to play like this, by the end of the year, there could be conversations of, does Alan Castro maybe get a some time in AAA, or maybe it's an end of the year call up, right? We've seen that happen before. And then it makes his Rule 5 status somewhat interesting because I don't know if he's necessarily a guy who would be added, but depending on how he plays, someone could take a swing on him, right? Doesn't mean he'd necessarily stick if someone, takes a swing at him. But switch hitting outfielder, good eye of the play, draws his fair share of walks, right? A team very well could look at that and go, you know what? Let's take a flyer on. He's played a whole year in Double A. Maybe he's got a little bit of time in AAA at the end of the year. A team very well could be, But it also makes Alan Castro, as much as it pains me to say this, makes him a trade candidate at the trade deadline. Yeah. Really makes him a trade candidate at the trade deadline. Which Craig Breslow, I will have a big poster outside of your house after the trade deadline if you trade him. I'm not going to threaten your house or your family. I'm not that crazy. People, please don't do that. Don't do it. Because I saw some people trying to maybe leaking his address and stuff. Don't do it.
Dude, people are insane. I get
he's got a family. He's got a family. His family doesn't deserve it. Be mad at the trade. Don't be don't threaten him and his family's lives. But I will put a big billboard or poster somehow. I'll go out there with a stick with a big poster of you. Why'd you you bum? You traded Alan Castro. What? Because we need the fan club to keep going. But he has been a lot better this year. And also you brought up Zach Ehrlicher earlier. I mean, 10 hits this week is absurd. 3 doubles, 2 homers, 2 walks, just 4 strikeouts. Also 5 stolen bases this week. Just an absurd week from Zach Ehrlicher. Also scored 7 runs. Absurd week. And, you have him and Alan Castro in that outfield right now. And then you're adding James Tibbs to that mix.
Mr. Tibbs.
Yes, you're adding James Tibbs. Adding James
it was a movie,
Tibbs.
Wasn't it? They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. That was a movie from the 80s.
I am not.
Now I need to Google this.
I know. I turned a year older today. 22 ain't old enough for that.
They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. 1970 thriller mystery. I only know that because of Psych. It's the only reason I know that. Sidney Poitier.
No clue. Got no clue. But,
culture yourself, says the guy who knows it from a sitcom. But culture yourself.
Zach Ehrlicher, Alan Castro, James Tibbs. I would assume Tibbs is probably going to get some time in left field in that outfield, I would assume. I'm thinking probably Tibbs in left, Castro in center, and maybe Ehrlicher in right. I know Sus Prospects had Castro in center and Ehrlicher in right on their team roster page. So based on that, I would assume Tibbs just slots in the left field. Like, yeah, maybe he gets some time at first base too. That's interesting considering right now Portland's listed first baseman as Tyler Miller, right? So
I think he's their only first baseman.
He might be their only.
I think it's him, and then they throw Max Ferguson there every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Juan Montero maybe could play a little bit of first base too, but yeah, that's.
But yeah, I can't imagine Tibbs doesn't play a decent amount of first. I get it. You could argue that like, oh, they got him for the asset and stuff. I can't imagine they traded for another outfielder prospect who can play first, and they're just going to be like, nope, you're an outfielder.
I think there is a little bit of difference with Portland just because there is the spot, but like at some point we are going to be looking at a Miguel Blaze call up, right?
Yeah,
like,
or Nelly Taylor.
Or Nelly Taylor, right? I think Blaze might be a little bit more likely because he played a decent amount of A-ball last year. I mean, high A-ball last year, right? But even then, like, whether it's Nelly Taylor or Miguel Blaze, it's probably going to happen. I have wondered quietly, maybe Brooks Brandon at some point just gets pushed up because of Johanfran Garcia being in Greenville. And then maybe Brandon gets a little bit of time at first base, maybe.
They could use catching help too there, though, honestly.
That too. They also could, yeah. Colesbury's on the injured list.
Mark Coles, that injury was terrifying, if anyone.
Yes.
It genuinely reminded me of Tristan Casas. Like, that was the best way for me to describe it. He tried to beat out a throw to first, stepped on the bag, and crumpled. And he had to get helped off the field, and it did not look good. Hopefully it's not nearly as serious, but it looked bad.
Yeah.
And then, like, Ronald Rosario's hitting 162 this year. Like they could use some help at catcher, so I agree. I wouldn't be shocked if
catcher organization wide, like outside of the big league team with Carlos Narvaez starting, but like Connor Wong's the backup catcher. It's Blake Sable and Sebi Zavala and Worcester. Though Zavala has an opt out, and then it's like Anderso Lira on the dev list.
Yeah,
like he's never gonna play. He's basically a bullpen catcher in Worcester, right? Ronald Rosario and Juan Montero in Portland. Yes, you have Garcia and Brandon in Greenville with Hudson White. That might be like the only team with catching depth at this point. And then in Salem, yes, you do have Claver Salazar, you have Andrew Mussett. But that's Salem. That's a long way from Portland and Worcester in the big leagues. That's a ways away.
But I do think it's interesting. Last week we talked about Portland's offense being pathetic. Mikey Romero's hurt. And I remember saying, Alan Castro's been good. And then it was like somebody else had to step up. And it felt like Zach Ehrlicher was figuring it out. It was like, oh, maybe he's the one to step up. He absolutely was. And now they have those two. And it's like, okay, that's a good top of the order group. And then you throw James Tibbs in there. And it's like, this offense is very interesting all of a sudden. Like they have those three. Hopefully Mikey Romero at some point is back. Tyler Miller is a good enough bat. Like he gets the extra base hits. He seems to always get some clutch hits. Marvin Alcantara hasn't been miserable. Like there's enough there that this team very quickly changed route from they need somebody to step up outside of Alan Castro to now you have Alan Castro who had another good week, Zach Ehrlicher who looked like high A Zach Ehrlicher again, and you're adding James Tibbs who has had a very solid season in high A. They do have a much better punch all of a sudden. Pitching wise, they've been fantastic. I just talked about Mark Colesbury's injury. Yordani Monegro, also a scary moment this week. 1 1/3 innings, left the game after a pitch where you couldn't see what happened on the broadcast, but the trainer and the manager come out and Monegro immediately left with them. Like there was no talking. There was no him trying to be like, let me throw another pitch. He immediately left with them. He looked completely broken. Like you could just see on his face, his head was down. He looked upset. Hopefully it's nothing too bad, but not a super positive sign that's anything to excite to, not obviously not to get excited about, but nothing, not a positive sign that it's something to not be devastated about. And then outside of him, Noah Song, 4 shutout innings over 2 appearances this week, 3 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts, 0 runs, 4 hits in 8 appearances over 4 levels this year, 12 1/3 innings, 18 strikeouts, 3 walks. I'm already ready for him to get thrown up into AAA very soon. Obviously, he's 28, so there's that. Like, you want to get him moving, but it's the hype for. There's a reason that the hype for Noah Song never died. Like, fans have given up on players much quicker than him, and they've stuck through it with him. He's always been the player that people ask for updates, and people are excited to see when he does something. Another big outing for Connolly early this week. The defense kind of let him down with a couple of errors, but still 5 innings, 3 runs, just 1 earned, 6 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. I would have told you that the promotion is coming within the next week if it wasn't for this trade. But with Kyle Harrison now in AAA, I think that kind of delays someone like Conley early moving up for a little bit. I've seen a couple people say like, oh, it's a paper move. Like, oh, they're going to go through the rotation once and then Kyle Harrison's up in the majors. It's going to probably be like a month. They're going to be working on things. So I think that puts a halt on someone like Connolly early. And then Blake Wehunt, easily his best start in the minor leagues. 4 hits in 7 innings, 1 run, 1 walk, career high 13 strikeouts, 3.81 ERA, 236 batting average against 121 whip, 121 whip, not 121. That would be god awful. 59 strikeouts compared to 17 walks in 49 2/3 innings. The pitching depth in this organization has made such a 180 over the last 2-3 seasons. Like, we came on here in the past and defended that the pitching wasn't as bad as some people in the media were trying to make it sound like it was. And obviously I still stick by that, especially because a lot of the people that we brought up are people that are now seen as legitimate pitching prospects. I mean, like, one person we used to bring up was Hunter Dobbins. Dude's now got a sub 4 ERA in the majors, and he's throwing 6 shutout innings against the Yankees. But
friend of the show,
Hunter Dobbins. And we're like, we don't have to defend anymore is the crazy thing. Like, now it's just like people are openly like, dude, Connolly Early's a dude. Like, oh, Blake Wehunt, that was awesome. You know, the amount of people that were like, who's Tyler Uberstein this week? And they were like, he's awesome. And one thing I forgot to mention with Chris Murphy was I asked him what it was like to go from playing in the minors and being someone like sponging off the older guys to now being that guy rehabbing. And you're now the guy who is like the quote unquote MLB veteran who like the younger guys want to talk to. And he talked about like Noah Dean came up to him immediately. Speaking of friend of the show, Noah Dean came up to him immediately and had questions and asked him like, as a lefty, how do I do this against lefties? How do I do this against righties? And I love seeing that from the prospects. Like, you're not afraid to go up to these guys and be like, hey, you've had success in the majors. What should I do to replicate that? What should I do to make it to the majors and be successful? And like, we have all these guys in Double-A, and then we'll talk about High A in a little bit. There's like 5 more pitchers there who very realistically could be pitching in Double-A right now. So the pitching depth has just been ridiculous, and getting this start from Blake Wehunt, not to keep talking about it, but it really sucks that like this Devers stuff happened now, because this would have been such a great talking point. This is something we probably would have talked about for 15-20 minutes, is the domination of Portland's pitching staff recently, and Blake Wehunt having a career start. And now it's just kind of something that we'll both get a little 2-minute piece on. But just, yeah, phenomenal pitching from Portland this week.
Yeah, ton of really good pitching. Also, I don't know how Blake Wehunt didn't win Pitcher of the Week. Seems kind of absurd to me. But, yeah, 7 innings, 13 strikeouts. Only 1 walk, doesn't win Pitcher of the Week. Don't get that. Hayden Mullins, 5 innings, no runs. Don Rogers, 5 innings, just the 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, no walks. Obviously, the Connolly early start, 8 strikeouts, just 1 walk in 5 innings. Noah Song, duh. Jack Anderson had 5 strikeouts in 4 innings out of the bullpen. 4 innings out of the bullpen and just 1 appearance. Only gave up the 1 run. Friend of the show, CT, Christopher Troy, 4 strikeouts and 2 2/3, no runs there. Only gave up 1 hit. Giovanni Cruz had 2 shutout innings out of the bullpen. He only gave up 1 hit, no walks, no bad pitches, just the 1 strikeout. Caleb Bolden had a start, only won 1 inning on the start, but didn't give up any runs. So they did walk and hit a guy, but worked around it. And then Drew Ehrlicher, 2 games he pitched, 2 innings, no strikeouts, but no walks, no hit by pitches, no hits, no runs. So Drew Ehrlicher, the next 2-way player in the system.
He threw an ephus pitch. It was like the
Yeah.
MLB posted it. And a good call on the Christopher Troy. Overall, numbers have not been great this year, but he has been so much better over the last couple weeks. And I did just want to say I looked up Nestor Herman, who won the Eastern League Pitcher of the Week. 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs. So like he gave up 3 less hits and didn't give up a run. 1 walk, which is the same. Only 6 strikeouts. That's 7 less. Pitched 1 less inning. He did have a complete game shutout, but it was a 6-inning complete game shutout.
That means he got the loss then.
No, he
right?
got the win.
Oh,
so it must have like the game must have
rain
gotten.
That's
the game got rained out. So
Damn,
don't get me wrong. I would be like, no, that's a complete game.
Yes, though.
But like,
this is a real complete game shutout.
That's like the weakest of complete games.
That's not even as bad as I was about to say. Do you like pitching a doubleheader, 7-inning doubleheader, and like he was on the away team, so he had to pitch the bottom of the 7th?
So like he gave up 1 less run, but he pitched 1 less inning and he struck out 7 less guys. I feel like that's on that's Wehunt's award.
That's
but
wild.
Whatever.
Oh well, that's wild. With that, I think we're gonna take a trip to Greenville now. In Greenville, on the position player side, I think we have to start with Big Al. No Big Al eraser here. 3 for 8 this week, couple of RBIs, a walk. We're not going to talk about what happened in the at-bats. He didn't get hits in because we're just not going to talk about that because it was all the same result and we're not talking about it. But shout out Big Al, 3 hits, continuing his legacy of just being Big Al. Nothing else to say there. Just Big Al doing Big Al things. What's Big Al's nickname going to be outside of just Big Al? Like, do we have like a fun like? Oh, we can't give him roast beef, but like
I think it's just going to be Big Al, just because that's not like it's just us that call him that.
Well,
like,
no, I know
in the organization. I just mean like I don't think we'll ever
we need like a roast beef equivalent. Like,
I think he's got to stick around a little bit longer before we do that.
Maybe.
Love me some Big Al, but the team is over the designated reserve list number right now. There's going to be some DFAs. I'm a little scared he might be part of it. Not DFAs, cuts, but
yeah.
Like he's sub 200, strikes out a lot. Like there was talks of them converting him to pitcher. He does hit dingers. He did have a very good week. And he's someone I actually talked about with Philip Sykes. Even a guy in AAA, he was like, dude, Big Al's like the greatest dude in the world. Everybody loves him. So I really hope he sticks around. I'd love to see him become a genuine prospect. But yeah, good week for him. Cool to see. Love seeing it.
Let's go, Big Al. Johanfran Garcia had 4 hits this week.
Mm-hmm.
3 walks for him as well. He's really, we're hoping that this is kind of, at least for him, like we're gonna kind of get the continuation of like the start of last year he had in Salem, where like he was playing amazing, and then obviously like gets injured, misses the rest of the year, and we're hoping now that like with Garcia that we have, we're hoping obviously he's fully healthy now. We're hoping he's going to kind of continue that trajectory of potentially being this really good catching prospect. Obviously, still relatively young. And only played 4 games this week, but like I said, 4 hits, a hit per game. I feel like any week you have as many hits as you have games played, you can't really complain that much. 4 for 13, obviously, it's not like absurd, right? No extra base hits, but like 308 average this week, 471 on base. Like, I feel like you can't really complain about a week like that. In all honesty, I don't think you can.
Yeah, and this was his high A debut. He hadn't played outside of the FCL in a year. Very positive start. He's 20 years old. I thought it was funny. Like when I tweeted out his first hit in high A, there were people like, we have a Yastinson Garcia and a Johanfran Garcia. And like people were shocked to find out he was the younger brother. And it was like, a year ago or a little bit over a year ago, it was the other way around. Where it was like everybody knew who Johanfran Garcia was, and they were shocked to find out he had an older brother in the system. It's funny how quickly things change. But yeah, a very positive first week. Like you said, the 471 on base percentage is awesome. 4 for 13. It's over a 300 batting average. You can't complain about it. And like he could have gone 0 for 13 this week, and I would have been like, dude, he's 20 years old, making his high A debut. He skipped single A this year. Like he played there a little bit last year, but doesn't have a ton of single A time, coming off a massive injury. Like this was more about him getting back there and starting that journey. So for the fact that he started the journey off on such a positive note is phenomenal.
Yeah, also had to Rafael Rodriguez and Nelly Taylor also both hit homers this week. Nelly Taylor had a really interesting week. So just the 2 hits, 1 homer, 8 walks this week. Also 8 strikeouts, right? Just a really kind of out of the ordinary week. Also, Nelly Taylor did steal a base as well this week. But just like kind of a weird week, has the homer, reached base 10 times, right? Typically, you have a week like that, no complaints there, but yeah, 8 strikeouts, like that's also not the greatest thing to see for a week either, right? So 5 games, 8 strikeouts, right? So an interesting week for Nelly Taylor, I would say, if you kind of just if you just take a peek at those numbers, it's a really interesting. It's like a really some goods and bads, I guess is the way to put it. With that, on the pitching side of things for Greenville, I feel like we also just a bunch of people to talk about here. On the pitching side of things. I feel like the best place to start is Eduardo Rivera. 1 appearance this week,
Definitely.
6 and 2 innings, only the 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And obviously, there are a ton of good performances this week in Greenville, Hunter, but it feels like Eduardo Rivera just continuously pitching good.
Yeah, he like 1.64 ERA, 124 batting average against, 0.83 WHIP, 60 strikeouts compared to 16. 60 strikeouts in 38 and a third innings is stupid. 22 years old, looks more than ready to get promoted to AA. Again, one of those situations where it's like there's multiple guys that could get the call to AA, and AA doesn't need the pitching right now. So you're just in this log jam. But we've talked about it every week now, it seems, for the last like 5 weeks, but the A's have to be kicking themselves that they just let this guy go for nothing. Like he was just a minor league cut last year. And yes, you could argue like, oh, well, the Red Sox unlocked something with him. But again, that kind of speaks to not to bring it back to this, but that kind of speaks to like they can do things with Kyle Harrison. Like this is a guy who the Athletics, I guess now, not Oakland, but that the Athletics gave up on.
The Athletics of Sacramento?
A very bad team gave up on at the time, 21-year-old massive lefty who throws 99. Like, they gave up on him. And the Red Sox pick him up and turn him into a freak of nature. So, like, there's reasons to be positive about Kyle Harrison. But that's not the point at this point. It's the fact that this is a rotation that has Payton Tolle, that has Blake Aida, who we'll talk about later, making his high A debut, that has Juan Valera, even though he's hurt, and Johanfran Garcia, even though he's hurt, and Brandon Clark, even though he's hurt. A lot of guys are hurt. And Noah Dean, who's been really good, and Hayden Mullins was there at one point, and Dalton Rogers was there at one point. And most of the weeks, it feels like we're like, damn, Eduardo Rivera had the best start. Like Payton Tolle's a freak, man. And like a lot of the weeks, it's like, no, Eduardo Rivera had the better overall start. And that is not taking anything away from Payton Tolle. We'll talk about him in a couple seconds. But the Red Sox, this is a guy who the Red Sox, again, took from another organization who not a good organization. They have a lot of issues. They could use pitching prospects. And they've turned him into this. And all of a sudden, he is a guy who, by the end of the year, we could be legitimately talking about as a 2026 possibility, or a genuine trade piece, or whatever. Like this is a guy who came into this season as just like, maybe he can be organizational depth. Like, oh, maybe they can get him to be someone who makes it to AAA just because he's a massive lefty, to people asking weekly, when is this guy going to AA? What's he still doing there? Every week, there hasn't been like this terrible Eduardo Rivera outing. He hasn't done it. He's been dominant every time out. So he's going to get to AA at some point this year. I'm really excited to see what he can do there. And I'm excited to see where that takes the narrative with him. If he does become this is a guy the Red Sox could trade for this, that, and the other thing. Or this is a guy who is suddenly knocking on the door of being a top 100 prospect, or whatever it is. Because I know that sounds absurd to say, but like, he is a 22-year-old left-handed pitcher putting up absurd numbers. And don't get me wrong, we talked about it with Elmer Rodriguez Cruz. It's high A. Like, this isn't the talent level below AA this year is worse than it's been like ever. The talent level in the low minors has been bad this year. But like, he's still dominating. He's still doing ridiculous things. And he is a massive left-handed pitcher who throws 99. Like, there is reason to believe that media and scouts and everyone are going to absolutely fall in love with him. So it'll be interesting to see how he is viewed outside of this podcast and like Sox prospects. It'll be interesting to see how he's viewed outside of the Red Sox world in the upcoming months.
Definitely. Well, also too, like, Greenville has 3 top 10 prospects has 3 top 10 prospects per Sox prospects rankings, and they're all pitchers. And not one of them is Eduardo Rivera. And one of Rivera's arguably the most impressive throughout the entirety of the year, consistently, right? It's just kind of absurd to think of. And the thing is too is like, and also too, like, Jedickson Pie isn't always on the injured list, but like, I think Sox Prospects has him in the top 20, right? So the amount of pitching that Greenville has right now is absurd. Just to talk about some of the prospects on that pitching side of things, Payton Tolle this week, 5 innings, 3 hits, just the 1 run, 8 strikeouts, with 3 walks in 5 innings. Also too, Blake Gaeta, he had 6 innings with just the 1 hit and just 1 run, 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. I'm kind of going through it quickly just because there's so much. We're almost 3 hours in, but there's so many people here. John Holobetz, 1 start, 5 2/3 innings, did give up 7 hits, but only the 1 earned run, just 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Danny Kerwin, 2 appearances out of the bullpen, 6 1/3 innings, 5 hits, just the 1 earned run, no walks. Did hit a batter though, which someone say would be more efficient. You never know. Some might say it though. 4 strikeouts for him. Isaac Stevens, 2 games, 3 innings out of the bullpen, 2 hits, just the 1 run, 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch, 1 strikeout. Cooper Adams, 2 1/3 scoreless out of the bullpen with just 1 hit and 1 walk allowed, 2 strikeouts. Michael Sansone, 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen in 1 appearance, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and then the 2 strikeouts. And then Eric Rivera had 1 1/3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen with 2 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. And then I'll also say Adam Smith. He only got 1 out this week, but it was a strikeout, and that was it. No hits, no walks, no nothing, just a strikeout. So, shout out, because that seems like a pretty nice week. 1/3 of an inning, 1 strikeout, that's it. So pretty solid. That's kind of just the roundup of everything. But yeah, just super impressive pitching from Greenville. I don't know if you have anything else, Hunter, or
no. Greenville was a little offense light this week, so there's not too much to talk about.
Yeah. But with that, let's head over to Salem. As we close in on the 3-hour mark.
It's funny. Last week we joked, like, when we didn't get the 3 hours after the show, we were like, "Oh man, next week we should we should go to 3 or 4 hours."
I literally joked about that.
It was a joke between us because it was clearly not going to happen because we weren't expecting something ridiculous to happen, and it's like, now it's going to happen because something ridiculous happened.
Exactly. So Salem, not a ton on the offensive side, at least that I have, but Claver Salazar, bringing up the catching situation. Claver Salazar, 6 hits, 6 for 19, 2 doubles, a homer, 5 RBIs this week, just 3 strikeouts. Also did draw a walk. Starlin Nunez had 7 hits this week. He also had 2 walks and 4 stolen bases as well. He did strike out 7 times this week. 4 stolen bases. He's someone who I feel like just in general, I feel like Salem's kind of being, I don't know what the right word would be, but I know he dropped in the Sox prospects rankings, but he was like right outside the top 30 at like the beginning of the year, which was interesting because you look at his numbers last year, nothing there seems to be like eye catching, right? And then like even this at 50 games, 247, 320, 379, 700 OPS, like it doesn't feel like eye catching. I know he dropped a little bit in the Sox prospects rankings, but like, you have a week like this, 7 hits, right? It is interesting because he kind of makes you think like, he was 33 at one point on the Sox prospects rankings, right? And now I literally just had it up. Now he's at 46, right? So he did drop a little bit, but like Sox prospects don't just rank people at a place for no reason. So considering they had him just missing out on the top 30, interesting name to kind of keep watch on because, like I said, the overall season don't look like absurd or anything, but like I said, they don't rank people for no reason. So and then Taylor Newton also had 5 hits, so like 0% body fat in Taylor Newton.
Yeah, I am so intrigued by Starlin Nunez, 19 years old, switch hitter. Like you said, 7 hits, 4 steals this week. He's on a 6-game hitting streak. He has 5 homers, which is not bad in single A, especially playing at Salem half your games. He's driven in 33 runs. He has 12 steals. He plays multiple positions in the infield. He looks decent there. He really feels like a spark plug. Like he feels like whenever Salem needs to get going, it's like, oh, Starlin Nunez hits a double, steals a base, whatever it is. And like this is a team that has lacked offense, especially since Franklin Arias and Antonio Anderson got promoted to high A. Like they don't really have a middle of the bat order, and Fraley Encarnacion. They don't really have like a middle of the bat guy or a middle of the order guy. Like Yohan Cespedes has had good moments. Justin Gonzalez has had good moments. Nathaniel Uten has picked it up. Andrew Moussette's been fantastic, but like nobody that teams are probably super scared of. And Starlin Nunez has been such a good, gets the offense going guy. And like I said, 19 switch hitter, like there's still a lot of intrigue in him. And again, like you said, Sox prospects doesn't just get interested in someone for no reason. There's a lot to like there. And then again, like you said, Nathaniel Uten, another good week. He's up to a 262 average. He's in June. He's slashing 361, 425, 528. 20 years old, played all last season in single A. Feels like he's someone who could be promoted to high A relatively soon, especially if one of those outfielders do get called up. He could be the one to take their place. Obviously, right now Greenville has 4 outfielders, like heavily in the mix with Blaze Taylor, Will Turner, and who am I missing?
What did you say?
And Yoferi Rodriguez.
Oh, Yoferi Rodriguez. Yeah.
But like, you're not going to have 3. You're going to when one of them gets promoted, it feels like Nathaniel Uten is the obvious move. So it's good to see him dominate in June, and like this is a guy that all of us at the start of the year talked about as like this is a breakout prospect candidate. And I like the fact that after the slow start, they didn't give up on him. He kept getting trotted out there, and he's figured it out, and he's cooking. And then weird week for Yohan Cespedes. He has a 6-game hitting streak, but he has just 1 hit in every one of those games. So there's like a lot of 1-for-5s. 240, 295, 403 slash line. He could use withdrawing some more walks, but the power's there. 12 doubles, 4 triples, 4 homers, 28 RBIs, 4 steals. 19 years old, not a big build, but genuine power potential. I talked about it last week. Feels like someone who, when he gets promoted to high A, the power is going to shine. Just get him out of Salem and good things will come. Now, obviously, there's also the harder pitching at that level, so that will be an issue. But yeah, just a very good season. Like after such a slow start to the year, and then he missed some time with injury, and then Franklin Arias gets called up, and it's like, damn, we really didn't get to see those two together. And when they were together, Cespedes was struggling, and it's good to see him picking it up. And I know the slash line's nothing too sexy, but it's again, you're dealing with Salem, you're dealing with a lot of pitcher friendly parks in single A, and he's still 19, he's still learning. Overall, it's been a decent enough year for him. And then on the pitching side, I just had Austin Ehrlicher. I'm going to call him by his proper name because Jake's not here to do it this time. And because he had the best start of his professional career on Sunday. 5 innings, didn't give up a run, didn't give up a hit, struck out 7, walked just 1. He was the pitcher of the week for the California League, so he did get the award. Carolina League. Thank you.
California League. Where did that one come from?
Overall, 386 ERA, 222 batting average against, 143 WHIP, 11 appearances, 7 starts, 35 strikeouts compared to 18 walks in 28 innings. So another guy, I feel like we've mentioned this with a couple of people, where the walks haven't been the best in the world, but they're racking up a lot of strikeouts. 22 years old. He's probably the guy on this pitching staff who seems like the most likely to get promoted when all the subsequent moves start happening. Again, there's a logjam in high A, and there's a logjam in double A, and now there's a logjam in triple A. So it's hard to envision when these moves are coming. But when
trade deadline,
right, yeah,
post All-Star break trade deadline.
When that train starts going, Ehrlicher will be someone who gets promoted.
Yes. We're all Ehrlichers, aren't we? The thing of Cruz also had an inning in 2/3 scoreless, only giving up 1 hit, just 1 walk as well, 2 strikeouts. Devin Futrell, 2 hits in 2 1/3 innings. No runs, no walks, no hit by pitches. The 2 strikeouts. Joey Gatchell, an inning and a third. No hits, no runs. Did walk 4, but worked around it. Had a strikeout, and like I said, no runs. Iverson Polanco, 2 appearances out of the bullpen, 4 2/3 innings for him. Just the 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Calvin Bickerstaff, 3 2/3 innings, 3 hits, just the 1 unearned run, and then 3 strikeouts with just 1 walk. And then, yeah, that's all I have. Because that's totally.
Yeah, I'm good.
Totally.
Over 3 hours.
We totally don't have another hometown pitcher who pitched well, but that's, that's besides the point. I don't know.
Shea Sprague?
Yeah, there we go. Shea Sprague. There we go. I was going to say it wrong, too. 4 innings for him. No hits, just the 1 run. 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Rare line. No hits, but still gives up a run. A little bit of a rare run, but 4 innings, still a solid appearance for him as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We've gone over the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, we did it. We did it.
It's a new record. The minor league show has gone over the 3-hour mark. Because of that, we're not having no guest prospect this week. We are just cutting it. No, now I even think it's a point having enough CLDS. I mean, hey, we're past the 3-hour mark. We're done. We're calling it.
Tapping out, boss.
We're tapping out. Just 1, 2, 3. Get their arm ready. Just raise arm. You can do it 3 times, because the first or second time wasn't obvious, and the third time's going to be. The third time, the first time, drop. Second time, drop. Third time.
Stays up.
Stays up, yes. Yes, because that's how it works. Out for the first 2, but then the third one just, yeah. Well, yeah, we're ending it. We're calling it quits. We want to thank Jake for joining us and kind of pulling his best Dick Fitz impersonation, coming off rehab early, his rehab assignment early. And by rehab assignment, I mean taking his time off to make sure he's 100%. So we appreciate him joining, even though he didn't have to. We do appreciate that he's joined. So shout out Jake for that. For Hunter, as always, my name is Derek. It's been a long one. If you're somehow listening, comment on this episode when we tweet it out. Comment roast beef. You know, whether it's on YouTube
Please do.
or on Twitter to the tweet. Comment roast beef. Why not? So with that, for Hunter and Jake and his spirit, you know, that's still here. He's not dead.
It sound like he died.
He's not dead. Just his spirit that's with us even while we're recording, even though he's not physically with us at this second. For both Jake and Hunter, as always, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning into the Pesky Report. And we will see you next week with a show that hopefully is in 3 hours.